Good morning, everybody. Or should I say on the top of the morning to you. But anyhow, it's St. Patty's Day, March 17th, 2021. Looks like things are looking up pretty good this year. And if you want things to really look good on the St. Patty's Day, I want you to try Lord Ulrich's corned beef and cabbage pot of gold on this beautiful St. Patty's Day. And so I'm going to teach you guys, now in the past I have done a radio show where I made some Irish stew, that kind of thing, using some ale, some Guinness, that kind of thing. This recipe is going to be a lot different than the recipe I did about 6 years ago. And everybody keeps saying, Rick, please do more shows. We want to see more cooking. We want to try some of your recipes. I try on the holidays here and there to put together a little something that maybe I would make that I can share with all you guys. And a lot of my meals are simple. Yeah, they're extensive, but they are simple meals. I try to teach everybody healthy living. And the key to living a long, healthy life is good eating. Most certainly people will agree with me on that level. I mean, you have to eat right, get exercise. Today we have a very special day because not only do we have my pot of gold corned beef and cabbage and I'm making, it's a very special recipe, but we also have a competition at the Carson City Mac. And as you guys know, the Paranormal Ghost Society, AngelOfThyNight Radio, we sponsor and we own our own sports association. So right now, we've been working really hard on our basketball team, a lot of practices, a lot of friendly scrimmages. We invite people from all over town to play with us. And so today's a unique day because while I'm busy playing basketball, this baby's going to be slow cooking all day long. Okay, so the whole point of a slow cooker is, yeah, you have to put the effort in to make what it is you're making, okay? But it'll pretty much do its own thing all day long. I won't have to touch it, okay? And so what I'm going to do, there's going to be a couple stages to this. We're going to cook the corned beef brisket all day long for about 8 hours. I usually go play basketball for a couple hours. So right before I go to play basketball today, I will go ahead and I will put the vegetables in with the corned beef brisket, and so that when I come home they're not too mushy, but they'll be softened enough to eat. So I'll have the meal ready when I come home, okay? Because a lot of people, they don't understand the whole point of a slow cooker so that you can go out, do the things you want to do, celebrate St. Patty's Day, and then you come home and you have your meals waiting for you. That's what I hope to achieve with today's corned beef pot of gold dinner that I'm cooking. Of course, it's not dinner yet, it is morning. But we're going to go ahead, I'm going to teach you guys how to put all this together. It's going to be amazing. Okay, and we're going to slow cook it. Vegetables are going to go in a pot. We're not going to put our vegetables in right now. I'll slice them, I'll dice them, I'll show you guys what kind of vegetables and things we're going to be using. However, I'm going to teach you, the first stage is going to teach you how to prep the meat. The meat is everything. That's what makes the corned beef. Yeah, the vegetables are all great, but honestly, how many of you can say that you eat corned beef all year round? I'm one of these guys that I see corned beef all year round. The only time I buy it for is St. Patty's Day. And the only reason why is because it's a really expensive meat. It also depends where you get it. And this year I had gotten the meat somewhere else. Every year I get it the same place. It's full of fat. And I don't want to pay for fat. I want a good cut of meat. I want a little bit of fat's okay because as it cooks, it helps season the meat as it breaks down. However, too much fat, and now you're eating all fat and you're not eating corned beef, and you're paying for fat and not meat. And I'm one of these guys that loves steak, but I'm not going to pay for fat. If I will spend a little extra on steak if I have to make sure that there's no fat in it. And so I ended up buying a point cut. You can buy a flat cut or a point cut or whatever you desire. But this time it's almost solid meat. It's pretty heavy. I mean, there's a few pounds here. I'm the only one in my household who eats this. My boys have moved out. They have lives, not their own lives, so if they want to make it for their families, they can. But I'm the only one in my household who eats corned beef. I'm not even Irish. I'm 50% Italian, 25% German, and 25% Polish. But ever since a kid, we've been celebrating St. Patty's Day. What is St. Patty's Day? Well, it's a Christian holiday. Basically to celebrate the life of St. Patrick and the spread of Christianity throughout Ireland. And it's a feast. It's basically a feast right before spring. I'm a very traditional person, but I'm not a very religious person. Notice I say Lord Rick's pot of gold. Because we're going to be smoking a lot of pot in this episode. A lot of pot. In this case, this is some great Punch OG. It's wonderful, man. I've been buying it now for a couple months. I love this shit. I mean, you could smoke a couple bowls, man, and you'll be good for the entire day. I'm not even kidding. But anyhow, it's just about celebrate the Christian feast. And more or less today, it's an excuse to go out to drink and party. Who needs an excuse? You can do that 7 days a week if you want. But a lot of people use the excuse. Well, it's St. Patty's Day, so they use the excuse, hey, they don't drink, they don't party, but St. Patty's Day, it's my excuse to get drunk. It's St. Patty's Day. You don't need an excuse to have a couple shots of whiskey. You don't need St. Patty's Day to eat corned beef and cabbage. However, every St. Patty's Day I do try to make myself a little corned beef and cabbage. And I remember last year in Nevada, shelves were empty. There's no toilet paper, no paper towels. You couldn't buy no corned beef. There was just a lot of shit going down because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so I remember I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? Because most restaurants weren't even open. And then I called the Fox Brew Pub and they delivered me some corned beef for dinner last year. And they gave me one tiny little piece. I'm like, man, I can't wait to make corned beef for myself. A man like me doesn't need a little dinky piece of corned beef. If you're going to give me some corned beef, give me some fucking corned beef. And so this is going to be a real hearty dinner. This is going to have everything in it. Full of seasonings, vegetables. I'm going to make a special broth to cook this in. You guys will see the broth. It'll be seasoned. And the thing is that even though I'm making the broth and cooking it in here, in a few hours before I go to basketball, I will come on film and I will add the vegetables into the broth and the beef. The beef will flavor the broth as well. So the vegetables are going to taste really good. More or less what this is this is a type of stew I'm teaching you to make. And yeah, we made Irish stew before, but it was pretty basic. This is going to be a little more complicated. And it's something that I am not showing you guys because, like I said, I've made a couple corned beef on camera. This is an entirely different recipe. And I just wanted to come on film. I mean, I think that good eats, sports, kind of unifies people. And that's why I do what I do. This is a positive thing. We're always going to get our share of haters on Angel of the Night Radio. Anyhow, this is Lord O'Rick on St. Patty's Day 2021. Things are looking good with the pandemic. Numbers are going down. Things are starting to open up. I'm up here in Carson City in northern Nevada. They're starting to open everything back up. The only thing I'm finding that's not opening up is the Mac Center where we play basketball at. They decided, even though things are going to fully open on May 1st, instead of postponing our season, they canceled our season until next year. And that's unacceptable. I'm sorry, but what are we getting our vaccinations for? What are we going and getting Moderna and all these other vaccines, a shot to the arm? Sometimes you got to get two, so you spread it out over a month. What are we getting our shots for if we can't go out there and play sports and be men? And I have not had one COVID case. We've been playing basketball for years, but we've been practicing twice a week almost for a year straight since the COVID-19. And none of our guys have ever gotten sick or COVID or anything like that. I think with the whole COVID thing, it's about being exposed to somebody up close for longer periods of time. 10, 15 minutes, like you're sitting at a concert or sitting at a hockey game and people are screaming and breathing down your neck. It isn't like that for basketball. Our guys go out there and we usually, when we're playing defensive, most people are 3 to 6 feet away anyways, running around, so we don't really get exposed to COVID. But I had gotten, right after Christmas of 2020, right after December of 2020, I was one of the first in the state of Nevada to get my vaccine. And I am vaccinated. I've been vaccinated a couple months. I feel great. I'm not sick. I'm not getting sick. Basketball's just been a lot of fun. We have our roster's filled up. And the only thing we can't do is compete. You know, we can sit here and we can practice every week at the Mac Center. That's fine. They'll take our money for that. You know, they reserve the court, but they cancel league. So, you know, it's like we may end up having to travel on the road and go to Reno when things open back up in another month and take our team elsewhere to another facility to play. But our guys have gotten good. You guys watch my basketball videos, so let's get on with the show. I wanted to try to make a show of it. I mean, after all, this is Angel of the Night Radio, and you're listening to Lord O'Rick on the top of the morning to you. So anyhow, you know, I kind of wanted to bring some humor to this show, and I'm going to. But first, what we're going to do, okay, before I get into the humor and all the St. Patty's joy, we're going to put the corned beef into the crock pot, obviously. Okay, this is a decent cut of meat. I'll let you guys see it as I'm pulling it out. Whether it's tender or not, I have no idea, okay? But what I'm going to do is I'll put the cut in here. Just put it on low. I'll probably cook it on low all day long. I don't have a reason to cook it on high. I can slow cook it on low and it'll be just fine. And it'll cook all day, and then when we add our vegetables, we'll keep it on low. And when I come back, I usually leave around 3 o'clock, and I come back home from basketball at 7:30. I get to give rides to the guys, that kind of thing. But there'll be vegetables in there for 3-4 hours slow cooking. If you turn it on high, your vegetables may start to boil so much, it'll become dry and there'll be no stew to it, and the vegetables will be mushy. We don't want mushy vegetables. We are putting some crispy vegetables in here, like carrots, like an onion, like celery, and so forth. So that's going to take a couple hours to slow cook anyways. No big deal. Okay, but we start off by putting your meat in the crock pot, turn it on low, let it start to heat up. It's going to take time. It's a slow cooker. You're going to get a little packet with your corned beef. It's usually a pickled seasoning that has red pepper and peppercorn. Just throw it on in there. You know, it doesn't have to be fancy because you're going to end up putting broth. It's going to be very liquid-like for a while, obviously, because you're going to want to submerge the meat in some beef stock, beef broth. I use the one with 50% less sodium. I don't need to give myself a heart attack on St. Patty's. This is a good meal and it'll feed the whole family, depending on how much you make and how big your crock pot is, okay? So pay attention as I'm going through this recipe because I want you guys to learn, okay? It's beef broth. Some people like to put a couple cans in. This is going to change the whole outlook of the recipe, okay? Because see, normally what I used to do with a lot of my stews, I'd just fill it with water. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to submerge it in water. However, beef broth is good for soups and stews and meats. So use some beef broth. Now I'm going to put a lot of beef broth in here. Okay, by the time I'm done, this is almost going to fill it to the top, which is fine because I have a lot of vegetables and we don't want our vegetables to be all non-submerged. We want our vegetables to be able to cook in the beef broth because otherwise when I come home, half of the vegetables on top won't be cooked. You see what I'm saying? So we want to do that. Now, a lot of people complain that corned beef gives them gas. It's really the cabbage. If you don't want to be gassy and you don't want to fucking rip them at work tomorrow, I suggest you put a little bit of baking soda in. It's not a necessity. Just a little bit. Like maybe a tablespoon, teaspoon, but just put a little bit to cut down on the gas, okay? I'm going to put a little cornstarch in. What's that do? Well, it's going to thicken it up later on. Okay? Just throw some cornstarch in. Just a tablespoon for now. If you have to add more cornstarch later, before it's time to eat, you can do that, okay? So I'm going to put some red pepper on in. I'm more of a fan of red pepper than I am of black pepper. Okay. But this is crushed red pepper. It's going to give it some zing. And maybe you don't want any red pepper in there. I don't know. But there appears to be some in the little packet you get. I just think it's not enough. Okay, pay attention now. These are some minced onions. Okay? Now, I'm going to be throwing an actual onion in there later, but the minced onions will allow it to flavor your corned beef as it's cooking for now. Because you want to have some kind of onions in there. Onions is great. Okay? This is Himalaya pink salt. Corned beef is naturally salty. Do you need to add salt? Probably not. But you can. This is Himalayan, so it's good for flavoring. Toke right there, toke right there, smoke like a little toke here, a little toke there, and I'm going to smoke all over here. And in between, feel free to take yourself a shot of whiskey or toke them up. Little toke here and there never killed anybody. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to take onion powder. Okay. Just put a lot of onion powder on there. Again, I have minced onions, onion powder. It's all about flavoring. I got peppercorn. It's a peppercorn grinder. Just a little bit of peppercorn. We already have red pepper in there. This is called mixed pickling. Okay, this is the key to making some good corned beef. What is mixed pickling? Okay. I'll tell you what mixed pickling is, alright? It's the same thing that's in that little packet of corned beef. Alright? Just about the same. Mustard seed, cinnamon, ginger, bay leaves, red pepper, caraway, allspice, coriander, black pepper, and cloves. And the smell will be unbelievable once it gets cooking. It doesn't like to come out easy, so you may want to use the bigger. It's the same stuff, man. They don't give you enough. So what I do is I just put a whole shitload in here. The mustard seed, the coriander, and the cloves and all that are all going to infuse within the meat. And the whole house is just going to smell like an Irish festival. I assure you. Here's where things get really interesting, okay? Worcestershire sauce. It's salty, but it's good for flavoring meats, marinating meats. I used to cook London broils in Worcester. Wrap them in tin, put the Worcester on, wrap it in tin foil, and cook it. So good. But now I like to slow cook my London broils. That way the meat just pulls apart. But what you can do, you can put a tablespoon or two in here. That's all we got. I have another bottle in case, but I don't think we'll need it. But just put a couple, just put like, I'd say 2 tablespoons on in the crock pot. So we got the makings of a good dinner. The way it is, I like to slow cook a lot of meals because sometimes I'm out at work, I'm out playing basketball with the guys, out with my friends. And I'd go out for a day hike, that kind of thing. It's nice to come back and have a meal waiting for you. A hot meal where you don't have to do much when you come home, but basically pull out a plate and just eat. And that's what we're going to do here. Okay, this is granulated garlic. Let's put some granulated garlic. You're not going to have too many people put garlic in their Irish stew or their corned beef and cabbage. I do. This is Lord Ulrich's pot of gold corned beef and cabbage. And there's a reason why I call it pot of gold. Okay? There's a reason why. Okay, next step. Next step, I'm going to take some Italian seasoning. Now, I always use this. You guys know this. But I always tell you what's in it again and again. Marjoram, oregano, thyme, rosemary, savory, basil, and sage. So, I'm going to put some herbs into it. You have to understand that when I cook, it's full of flavor. That's why people love to eat my cooking, because they know I'm not going to just throw it in there with a, I'm not going to just throw my corned beef in with some water and a couple of potatoes and say, hey, it's done. When I cook, it's like an art. And we want to treat it as an art. We want to make sure it's full of flavor. Okay, so go ahead, we'll put some garlic salt in. Just a little bit, because we already have Himalayan salt, but a little garlic salt is not going to hurt. I cook with garlic all the time. Last but not least, a little bit of garlic powder. Okay? You have to understand too, this is not all about seasoning the meat. This is about making the broth so that way when we cook the vegetables later, the vegetables are tasty. We're not just putting a piece of meat, some water together and some vegetables and saying, here you go. In order to have a good stew or corned beef and cabbage, the vegetables have to taste just as good. I probably make this a lot different than you guys do, but that doesn't mean you can't learn off how I cook or the recipes that I do. I'm one of these people that firmly believes in learning from other people and teaching. And so as an educator, is the one thing I can give back to you guys besides the paranormal and basketball. I can give you guys some good eats that you could use year after year with your families, your kids. Gentlemen, you can surprise your wife. If she likes corned beef and eating St. Patty's Day dinner, you can surprise her with this. She'll be impressed. She will. Minced garlic. This is real garlic, okay? We're going to use some real garlic in it. Like I say, not a lot of people like to use garlic in their Irish stew. Because in Irish stews, generally, and corned beef and cabbage, you won't see garlic. I use a lot of garlic. Because, remember, I take recipes and I tweak them to my own benefit. And I put the things that I like to eat. And while we'll keep it mainly Irish, I'd say about 25% of this is going to be Italian today. Italiano, you know what I'm saying? So, we got all the seasonings in. I'm not going to really measure this, but this is really expensive shit. This is Henry McKenna bottled and bond bourbon whiskey. From Kentucky, mind you. Okay, so a little bit of whiskey is not going to hurt. I recommend you use Irish whiskey. Because Irish whiskey is perfect for Irish whiskey is perfect around St. Patty's Day. And you can use it in your cooking. I'd put probably, I'm just going to put like a shot of that on in here. You don't need a whole lot. It's for flavoring. It's for also helping break down the meat. Yeah, I put a little bit more. Nobody's looking, right? Nobody's looking. There you go. It's a little bit more. Another shot. You know what I'm saying? But anyhow, so far so good. And then what we have here is celery, cabbage, carrots, baby carrots I use. Red potatoes, and a sweet purple onion. A lot of people don't use sweet purple onions in their cooking. But I like sweet onions, and I think it really adds to the flavor of meats and vegetables. Remember, you're trying to get your kids to eat this dinner. A lot of kids don't like corned beef and cabbage. They're like, oh, because it's got a lot of vegetables in it and so forth. And kids don't always like that. But if you can make your vegetables really good and tasty, I can guarantee you your kids are going to eat vegetables more and eat the meats that you cook. It's got to have flavor. Nobody wants a slab of meat or plain Jane vegetables. Anyways, we're going to let this simmer up. It's on low, so I'll give you guys a little bit of St. Patty's Day humor. Okay? 17 dirty text messages that'll get you luckier than a 4-leaf clover. I don't know who sends these text messages to people, but hey, maybe these tips will get you guys laid. I don't know. AngelOfThyNight Radio is for adults of a special kind, just so we know. And we're live here in Carson City, and this is Lord Rick, your host of AngelOfThyNight Radio. So good morning, everybody, or on the top of the morning to you. Anyhow, I'm going to go over 17 texts. You guys could really use these if you want to get luckier than a 4-leaf clover. Here's one. Let's make my ex green with envy tonight. Okay. I don't want to think about my ex, and I certainly don't want to make her jealous. Let's make my ex green with envy tonight. Number 2. I'd love to get lucky with you. I say that all year around. There's a lot of people we love to get lucky with, including Mila Kunis. Number 3, I go down like Guinness. I go down like Guinness, smooth and easy. It's St. Pat's Day, which means I'm about to make you say, oh yes. Here's number 5. Kiss me, I'm part Irish. Want to know which parts? Well, I don't know, man. I mean, if I got some red fucking pubes, there's a good chance that I might be Irish, right? Number 6. Heard you're Irish, and I've always wanted to see the look of the Irish, if you know what I mean. Who sends these texts to people? I mean, as corny as they are, will it actually get you lucky, or will it, like, scare somebody away on Tinder? Just saying. Number 7. I've never found a 4-leaf clover, but I did find you. So make me lucky. Again, there's that lucky thing. You'd have to get lucky. If you end up getting stoned, drunk, and eat well and laid on St. Patty's Day, you are definitely lucky. Because some of us at our old age, we don't get to do any of those things. Of course, today I'm hoping to do all those things. Like I said, I mean, I may not be Irish, I may be mainly Italian, but I celebrate with the best of them, man. Number 8. Guess what we're going to do later tonight? Here's a hint. It rhymes with luck. That's the best one. Fuck. But anyways, number 9. You want to see me Lucky Charms? Yeah. Lucky Charms. Lucky Charms. We all had. You know what happened to my Lucky Charms? My dog has a tail that's almost 2 feet long, and every day when his mommy comes home, my dog loves to whip me in the damn Lucky Charms. So they're not so lucky anymore. They take a beating on a daily basis. I have to wear a cup around my house. I have to walk around my house like this when my dog runs by. Because if you don't, you get fucking whipped in the gonads. Worst feeling in the world. Here's one that a woman might send you, gentlemen. Are you Irish? Because Irish cream is my favorite. Another one. I'm going to shamrock your world tonight. More like ramrock your fucking world tonight. Jesus. Happy St. Pat's Day. Are you up for some shenanigans? I got the award for being the world's best shenanigator. And sometimes I gotta admit, I kind of poke the bear a little bit, and I purposely will stir a little shenanigans. And it doesn't even have to be St. Patty's Day to do it. Number 13. I don't know how to do an Irish jig, but I know a few other moves that we can try. Number 14. Shamrock me all night long. Number 15. Is there a pot of gold at the end of that rainbow? Dude, I was like browsing for St. Patty's getup this morning, right? And I go to this one site, and there's like a pair of female panties, and it says, it has a rainbow, and then it points with an arrow and says pot of gold right between the legs. It's like, man, I mean, some of the things they come out with. And this is supposed to be a Christian holiday, mind you. Like I said, people use Christian holidays as an excuse to sin. The church has done it for years. The church loves to party. They love to smoke. I mean, the girls at church, they love to have sex. But I mean, sometimes you just need that push, you know? It's like, oh, it's a celebration. It's St. Patty's Day. It's Easter. It's Christmas. You just kind of need a holiday to kind of give you a little push. That way, if people question you, could just like be like, well, it was a holiday. It was St. Patrick's Day. You can kind of fall back on it, you know? Number 16. This picture of green beer looks like you're getting lucky tonight. Well, I'm getting lucky no matter what color the beer is. Just saying. Getting drunk too, you know, right after the basketball game. And number 17, the final dirty text, well, it seems like it's dirty, that is going to make you luckier than a shamrock would be, I wish I had the drum rolls, you know. We definitely need an audio technician for our show. If I don't wear green tonight, will you pinch me? And if I do, will you pinch me anyways? I want to tell you guys a joke, okay? I'm in the St. Patty's Day humor. This is a St. Patty's Day episode because everybody thinks that it's just a cooking episode, but it's really not. I mean, yeah, I'll teach you guys some good eats, but I'm going to also try to, you know, touch base with some of you. It's been a rough year, and I've had friends that did not make it due to COVID. So, we got to count our Irish blessings that we're here to be able to feast and enjoy ourselves a little bit and enjoy a meal such as this. What I'm going to do, before I get on with the joke, is I'm going to stir this, obviously. Just make sure, you stir it because you don't want clumps of garlic or clumps of some of the seasonings to not be mixed in with the meat and the juices, or the broth, I should say. But right now, it's cooked. Also, the corned beef retains some juice as well. I don't expect much of the juices to disappear. I expect there to be, in the next couple hours, just as much broth so that I can put these babies of vegetables on in there, okay? So let me tell you guys a joke, okay? A modest young Irish lass had just purchased some lingerie and asked if she might have the sentence put on her panties in broad. Says, if you can read this, you're too damn close. And of course, she told the clerk, hey, I want this embroidered. I want this put on my panties in broad. The clerk said, yes, madam. I'm quite certain that can be done. And she goes ahead and she goes, but before we do this, would you like it script or would you like it in block letters? And the girl, the lass in the lingerie, trying it out, she professed back to the clerk and said, can you put it in braille? As she blinked her eyelashes innocently. Ho ho! Naughty, naughty girl. There's kind of some cynicism right there, you know what I'm saying? But I love it. I love every minute of it. So anyhow, what we're going to do is we're going to work on the vegetables, okay? What I want to do is I'm going to put them in a pot. I'm going to cover the pot, put it in the fridge, just keep the vegetables nice and crisp. And we'll add them before I go play basketball. Now, next time you guys see me, I'll be in my basketball uniform. Always wear my team colors, my team uniform when I go practice. I mean, these are legitimate practices. I'm not going to just play basketball for fun and recreation, but as a coach, it's my job to get our guys ready to compete, whether a season's next month or 6 months from now. But what you want to do is you want to take a colander, okay? And you're going to want to throw, I got some big old red potatoes, okay? I got some big old fucking carrots too. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to run some water over these fresh vegetables. better to be safe than sorry. I've heard of people now washing their vegetables and then they get some pesticide intake in their system. Now, I don't think these were made with pesticides. You never know. Maybe they did use them. It's hard to say. But you should always wash your vegetables. Even though farmers and most food wholesale companies will run their vegetables through a steamer or a way they'll wash them, pre-wash them. Sometimes vegetables are on top of one another, so they don't get washed very well. So wash your vegetables. And I got them in a colander, and I'll have the water, let the water rinse them for about 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes. And I'll continue to talk to you guys before we get to the stand-up comedy part of the show, or the talk show portion of it. But you know, I always want to bring our holiday shows in with a little bit of humor. 4 reasons why we know Jesus was Irish. Well, 1, he lived at home till he was 30 years old. 2, just before he died, he drank with his lads. And that is true, by the way. Number 3, his mother always thought he was God. And number 4, he thought his mother was a virgin. Oh! Got another joke for you guys. What do you call an Irish spider? Again, I need the drum roll. Patty Longlegs. And what did one Irish ghost say to the other Irish ghost? Top of the morning to you. Top of the morning to you. Get it? Moaning? So I'm going to rotate them. Just keep letting the water run over the carrots and the red potatoes. We've washed the potatoes and the carrots. We let it run on on medium for about a good 10 minutes. Just make sure that they're clean and that they're good, because, like I said, you don't want to get sick. You don't want to be eating pesticides. You don't know what farmers use. I mean, they may use pesticides in some other crops, and the wind's blowing that day, and then it blows all over the carrots sticking out of the ground, and then next you know, these fucking carrots end up at the supermarket. You know, and people have gotten sick from not washing their vegetables, but you always wash your vegetables. It's just a good policy to do. Even if it's bagged, doesn't mean anything, because machines can only do so much, and we live in a world of machines, but machines are faulty. And so even if the machines say, hey, we automatically wash these vegetables, it's not always true. If you guys notice, I kind of look like an evil leprechaun. I have these masks that I put on. You guys are aware of it. So, you know, once I got the top, once I put on the top hat and I put on my mask or whatever the case is, you know, I look pretty fucking badass. I'm going to also teach you why else I call it the pot of gold, okay? I'm going to show you what else to add. You know what the secret is to making Lord O'Rick's corned beef and cabbage pot of gold? Marijuana. Yes, you heard me, marijuana. Okay? We're going to put some marijuana on into this, okay? Just a little bit, okay? I put about two buds, 2 bowls worth, and what I did is I just crunched them up. I mean, if you have kids in the household, it's probably not so wise to throw in that. That's a little bit extra, but in this pot of gold, we can put whatever we desire. Well, except for real gold, because I really desire real gold. But we can put a little bit of whiskey, a little bit of marijuana on in there. I love garlic, put garlic. Whatever you want to put in there, you put in there. The basis of it is to make a delicious Irish stew, and you don't have to stick to tradition. I'm not even Irish, so I don't have to stick to any tradition. But I am a traditional guy in the sense that I love all holidays, and maybe I use holidays just to eat a little extra special. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to have to lose this at basketball tonight or get a good workout before I eat this meal, because this meal is entirely mine for the taking. What we're going to do, I'm letting the carrots and the potatoes dry off a little. We're going to cut up an onion, okay? It's a purple onion. Onions can make you gassy in the tummy. Just something to bear in mind. So, you know, it's up to you how much of an onion you want to use. I use the whole onion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the onion in slices. You can cut it any way you want to cut it, but I usually, if you look, I cut it this way in rings. And then what I do is I chop those in half and they're stew ready. Keep in mind the onions are crispy now, but after a couple hours of cooking, you'll hardly even notice them or see them. Because in a stew or whenever you're cooking in the slow cooker, if you guys ever notice or not, if you cook onions, they break down to a point of you barely even know that they're there. But the onions are really good for you and they're high in flavor. Now I have a pile of rings. It looks like onion rings. We're going to take that pile, dice it in half, and then we're going to try to dice it in a quarter, so that you have 4 quarters. Cut them however you want. It's not really going to matter. You can actually dice them up fine too. But now we got a whole big ass plate of onions. And this is, you know, it's for flavoring. Dump them in the pot. This is awesome. This is not the pot of gold. This is really the pot of gold. This has got all the good stuff. The marijuana, the bourbon. But your vegetables are important. And so you got to pre-prep the vegetables. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the colander. And we're going to slice and dice our potatoes. Do you want to skin the red potatoes? No. Don't skin them. Leave the skin on. It's good flavoring. Okay? And you cut these potatoes into chunks or squares. I don't care how you cut them. Just break them apart. You know, make them stew-worthy. Throw them on in. And this is a good meal. This is not a bad meal. Okay, it's a real healthy meal. Marijuana and bourbon included. You can throw the bourbon in and your kids can still eat it because the alcohol will dissipate. Okay, and what remains is the flavor. The natural flavorings of the bourbon and so forth. That's fine. Just like you can make a corned beef and you can make the total broth out of Guinness. You can do those kind of things. But, just keep in mind, if you decide to throw some marijuana on in, you may not want to do that. Okay? Not that it's going to get you high as fuck. The marijuana adds a nice flavoring. It's an herb, you know, and you can cook with it. And people don't realize marijuana is not just about getting high and smoking and it's not about that at all. You can cook with your marijuana, and you should cook with marijuana. And then I love to cook with marijuana. Look at this, I got two different types of marijuana here. Give me gold shillings. So go ahead and chop up the potatoes. You know, you want to break them down into like maybe 1.5 inch pieces. But that's up to you again. Cut them how you want. I'm not going to tell you guys how to dice your shit. I always, in these cooking shows, I try to keep an open mind, but I also try to give you guys options. Careful not to cut any fingers off. I watched 2 horror movies this week, and in both horror movies, there was a woman slicing and dicing vegetables, and in the one, The Dark and the Wicked, or The Evil and the Wicked, it's called something like that. The woman was chopped. She had like like the devil in her house, or a demon, and she's chopping like potatoes or something, man. All of a sudden, she fucking chops like 2 or 3 of her fingers off, and she just keeps chopping. Like she don't even know she cut her fingers off. And this knife will cut fingers off, so I'm trying to be extra careful. But, you know, I want to make sure I cut my potatoes with ease. I don't want to be all day trying to cut a potato with a weak knife. Now I used about 6, maybe 7 red potatoes. It's your choice. And here's the thing, okay? We're only going to be able to fit so many vegetables in with the corned beef. So I'm going to have extra vegetables, which is fine. Because what I could end up doing is when I eat the stew later and I have some meat and I have some vegetables, I can throw more vegetables in the slow cooker. And tomorrow for lunch, dinner, just throw some more vegetables in and warm it up and cook some more vegetables up. We don't want to waste anything. That's the thing. We want to make sure that we utilize the whole stew in any way we can. Now these potatoes look great. They're not discolored in the middle. They're fresh. I got them from produce. And they look really good. But this is our final potato. Okay, so far we got an onion in the pot. We got some diced up potatoes. We're going to want to mix. What is it with me and dropping everything today? I'm not even drunk yet. Notice how I say yet. I'll be lucky if I can make it through the entire day not getting drunk, I swear. And I don't need St. Patty's Day as an excuse to do it. So I got the onions and got the potatoes all mixed in evenly, okay? These are baby carrots. Throw the baby carrots on it. Okay, this is a nice, we got ourselves a nice little mixture going on here, okay? It's going to be a pot of vegetables. So onions, baby carrots, and red potatoes. All in the pot so far. We still got to add our cabbage and our celery. Let me show you guys actually what this is starting to look like here. Looking good, man. Look how herbal it looks. Look how good that... That's like a 3-pound cut of meat. Some of the fat will boil off, and you'll get left with just meat. But, I mean, it just smells amazing. And you guys know that I've started this about 45 minutes ago, and the whole house, the aroma of the whole house is just amazing. Okay, and so far this is what our vegetables look like. Pretty good, right? Pretty wholesome looking. We're not done yet, though. We got a little bit more to go. And now, guys, we're going to get into our celery. Celery is... I don't like working with celery much because you really, when it comes to celery, you don't use the whole thing. I mean, you got to cut the bottom off. You have to cut the tops off. Not much of the tops, just cut. And you want to make sure it's... I mean, the tops are all, like, dead or hard. You want to make sure you cut the top off, and then what you want to do is you cut the bottom off so that you're left with stalks. Of course, I'm going to throw this out, make more room. One thing is, you're going to want to wash the celery too. Same thing is going to go with our cabbage. And I used to work at a restaurant, and they said the easiest, we used to have to make the coleslaw, you know? And the easiest way to do the cabbage, we would bang it hard on the, we take it, bang it. You see the stem underneath, or the heart, or the core? And it would break it off, and you take your knife, scoop it out, and then you could utilize the whole cabbage for coleslaw. And you'd slice it in fours, run it in a machine, and it would make the coleslaw, or the chopped up cabbage. You don't have to be so anal about washing the cabbage. Just try to take off the first layer. That's what I do. I just take off the first layer. Better to be safe than sorry. The thing about cabbages is that it breaks down quite quickly. So when you cook it in such a stew, the way we're cooking it, it's not gonna It's going to be soft. It's not going to be hard. Cabbage is what makes some people get gas in their stomach and they, they'll belch and they fart and everything else. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. That's why we use the baking soda. It's mainly for the cabbage. I don't think that banging it on the counter is going to do any good. So here's what we'll do. We're going to cut it up, okay, into slices. Cut it however you want, because once this ends up, see how I cut it into pieces? Because we're just going to end up throwing it on in the stew later on, so it's not going to matter. It's a good cut of cabbage too. Nice pieces of cabbage. And all we're going to do is mix the cabbage, the potatoes, the carrots, the onions, all together, and the celery. The only thing you're not going to use is the core of it. Just throw it on in there, it's just cabbage. I don't eat cabbage a lot. Some people, they like cabbage, some people don't. It's one of those acquired type of taste. But if you don't have cabbage in your Irish stew, you're really missing out. So we have the cabbage on in. So we have the cabbage on in. The only thing remaining is we have to cut up the celery. Are you going to use all the celery? I don't know. Celery can get a little mushy when you cook it. The thing is, it's about flavor. And if you cook celery in a stew long enough, it's going to add some flavor into it. Anything you put in is going to envelop the flavor around the meat or the vegetables, whatever you decide to put in. If you put a lot of garlic in, and you throw in some bourbon and some Worcestershire sauce and celery and all these other seasonings, you're going to get a stew that comes out like that, especially if you're slow cooking it. So all I've done, I've cut a whole plate of celery. Just throw it on in. Okay? I think I'm going to cut a couple more stalks of celery. With COVID going on, man, it's just crazy. See, I want to buy myself this revolver. It's a good hunting revolver. Good for hunting. Self-defense, but mainly hunting. You can buy attachments for it. It also takes different calibers. So, it's Murphy's Law. When you have a lot of money and you're doing well, and you want to buy something, you can't find it anywhere. When you don't have the money, then it's just begging to be purchased. So there are two things that I've been trying to buy in the last month. A new revolver for my collection, which can't find handguns or revolvers anywhere. I go to a million gun stores, sold out, because everybody thinks the apocalypse is coming and civil war and that the Democrats are going to take your guns and on and on and on and on and on and on. So people are, the way it is, first it was toilet paper and paper towels. Then it's the guns. Now it's the PS5s. I can't even get a PS5, man. I've been trying to buy a PS5 now for 2 months. People take always more than what they need, and everybody wants to buy everything nowadays and own everything. But some people in this country, poverty is a real issue, and they can't afford to feed their kids. They're worried about buying booze and drugs and all these other things and electronics, and hunger in this country has become a pandemic. And so this is not the most expensive feast you're going to make. But if you have kids, this is the only feast to make on St. Patty's Day that's going to put a smile on their face. So I'm going to save the other celery sticks. Okay, so we have a nice big bowl. I took everything from the pot and I poured it in the colander and I'm running water. Just one last rinse. So how many of you use apps to meet other women or men? Such as Tinder, Plenty of Fish, OkCupid. How many of you guys use apps? You know, when I first started using the internet, like 20 years ago or whatever, you know, we would go online and you'd meet someone through an American Online profile, or you'd use Craigslist or something like that. Now, there's a bunch of little dating apps like Tinder, and Tinder just came out in a few more months. They're going to be putting out a service where you get to scan your match's background. You get to do a background check. Because they're always trying to find people, you know, they're always trying to find new ways of compatibility. But that could go good or bad, because it allows somebody basically to snoop on a person's record, which could be private. And I understand why it's good to do it, to make sure someone's not a felon and has battery charges, domestic battery. I understand why it's being done. But I also understand that the internet's no longer a private place. I mean, years ago, I had a spiteful landlord accuse me of stealing a mower on his property. It was a mower I found. It was my mower. He did not own that mower. It was my mower. I got accused of stealing a mower that belonged to me. And I was seeking, and they were going to give me 5 years in prison for that shit. You know, and it's wiped clean from my record. However, can you imagine I'm on Tinder and someone does a background check and it shows grand larceny for a mower I didn't even steal? So I don't necessarily agree with background checks. I think it should be an optional thing, or I think that if somebody requests them, you should be allowed to approve them and say, okay, you can look into my background, you see it's clean, that kind of thing. I think it would probably go better that way. But I think nowadays, the way the internet is, you got so many crackheads and crackpots online, it's almost necessary to look into someone's background. Because I've met my fair share of yahoos. For example, you know, you ever go to an escort site, or you go online and you look at holas? Oh, did I say that word? But you ever go on and look at adult entertainers? I like to look at adult entertainers. I like to have them strip for me, massage, all that stuff. I like adult entertainment. You know, I try to take care of my own personal needs. Smoke a little bud, eat good, exercise, hike, play basketball. Also, having a little adult fun could add years on your life, or it could take years off your life. But do you ever notice, like every time I go and I browse escorts or adult ads, the girl is never the girl in the picture. Like, you look at the picture and she looks hot. You know, you're thinking, oh, that's a hot girl because she's got makeup caked on. And you're thinking, oh, she's pretty, she's sexy, you know? And then you meet her in person, she's like, sorry, I forgot to put on makeup. And I'm thinking, girl, you probably blown so many guys today, that's why your makeup is not on your face because you've taken it on the face all day fucking long. And it's true, it's true. I met this girl, you know, she's like a mom, needed some help. She's like, you know, she goes, I like to do a little adult entertainment, I got kids, blah, 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 blah. And I kind of felt bad. I said, you know, I'll throw her a bone, maybe she'll be good to me. Well, first off, I went to go pick her up at the casino. And she goes, I'm coming. I ended up waiting like a half hour. I'm like, yeah, you're coming, all right. Somebody else is coming, you mean? And so then I meet her, and like, the girl in the pictures was like 130 pounds. But the girl that showed up had Hulk Hogan arms. Her arms are like this fucking big, man. And, you know, I thought to myself, God, I mean, it was a girl in the picture, but those pictures had to be like 20 years old, you know. Anything to kind of get me to come get you, because what are you after? You're an adult entertainer, you're after my money. Okay, but I could almost, I mean, the girl showed up, and she's like, sorry, I didn't have time to put on my makeup. It's like, why lie to me? You know, because I show up and I'm thinking, oh man, this girl's not really an adult entertainer. She's just some mom trying to fucking find some quick fucking cash, you know. But, met up, hung out with the girl, because, you know, sometimes it's fun to hang with hookers. I love hanging with hookers. Some hookers have some fucking personalities on them. And don't get me wrong, not all escorts and hookers and strippers and all that are bad. Some will steal, some do drugs, some lie. It's just the same as people. But I met this woman who was doing adult entertainment. And don't you love how a hooker, I don't know if any of you's ever had experience with adult entertainers, they will lecture you about the law when they're the ones breaking the law. I went and I parked at a, you know, I want a handy dandy. I parked over there at a park, and she's like, great, this is a felony offense, blah. She like gave me the whole lecture. And then she's like, is this where you take all your women? It's like, no, dude, I just want to, it's like I told you before, I just want to blow and go. That's it, just a blow and go. Park here, you know, or I drive around, you give me a blow, and then you go and I go, you know. Well, it turned out that this woman, I unzipped my pants, she could not believe on my package. So then she goes, I'll fuck you for free. I'm like, no, it's pretty bad when a hooker says, I'll fuck you for free. There's like, it's like, what are you giving out, AIDS? You know what I'm saying? It's like, just give me a handy dandy, send me on my way, you know? I'll even take a nice shoulder rubber massage, I got a bad back. But you know, we park at this park, and she's all going off on me for an hour about her life and how she has to suck dicks for money. And, you know, she basically lied to me and said, oh, come pick me up here. But then she comes from another direction. It's like, whose vehicle were you in the parking lot? You know, it's like musical cars. You just go from one vehicle to the next vehicle. But I don't like to usually pick someone up and just pull over and park, you know. I like to try to go above the town, or take a dirt road somewhere, or park in the woods, or somewhere up above in the hills above town, or at the park, whatever. I just like that cozy in nature feeling. So, parked at the park. She's like, is this where you take all your girls? It's like, it doesn't matter where I take anybody. At this point, the only transaction is pleasure and me tipping you for pleasure. You know, me paying you for your time and you giving me a little whatever pleasures that I want. But I mean, this girl shows up, and in the pictures, you know, she's just this tiny little mom. You know, she's like, I'm a mom, I'm a single mom of a couple kids, blah, 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 blah. She shows up, dude, she's got fucking out. I didn't even recognize her. I was like, that's you? I'm like, you sure that's you? She goes, yeah, I used to be 300 pounds, now I'm 200 pounds. Oh boy. So I got myself in a pickle, and I had this hooker that basically was like trying to throw herself at me, like, I'll fuck you for free, and we'll hang out, we'll be friends. And I'm like, man, you must be giving away AIDS. You must be giving away some kind of funk. It's like, I didn't fall for that shit. But it's pretty bad in life when the hookers want to fuck you for nothing, okay? There's something definitely going on. I don't know if it's if I have like some amazing porn dick or whatever. I don't know. Maybe it's just because all this roast that I continue to eat and slow cooker has made me a manly type of man. I don't fucking know, you know? But anyways, I mean, I have some crazy life experiences, you know, because sometimes I'd be stressed out. I mean, I found out bad news recently that I might be going blind, okay, and I've had a hard time dealing with it, and so I kind of, you know, I lash out. I go party with the hookers and the strippers. I get drunk, and I get fucking stoned out of my mind, and then I start popping ibuprofens and pills for the pain, and it's just, you know, I've had a rough roller coaster of a ride, so, you know, I tend to be one of these guys that on occasion like to wind down with a pretty woman. You know, and the whole point about having an escort is that you get to choose the type of girl you're looking for. You like blondes, you like big boobs, you like feminine girl. You know, you get to choose a girl you want. And here I chose this feminine girl who looked beautiful, and she shows up, dude, in this fucking skirt with no fucking panties. And I wasn't after the hoo-hoo. Because I'm not interested in having sex with multiple escorts like that. I didn't want to play with her hoo-hoo. You know, and I definitely did not want to have sex with this girl. You know, I just was on my way home, and I'm like, oh man, bad news at the doctor's. All of a sudden, hey, can I have a handy dandy? But I ended up at the park, you know. And instead I ended up talking to this crazy ass hooker who was like begging me to have sex with her. It was like, next time we'll see each other again, you know, because I thought something was up. I was like, oh, you don't even want my money. You want my dick. I've never met a hooker that wants my dick. And she says, you have to understand, being that I'm an adult entertainer, most men I meet are desperate and have little 1-inch wee-wees. And I'm like, oh, that's what it is. It's like, this is like the first cock this girl I've fucking seen in like years, man. Because that's what I hear from a lot of hookers out here in northern Nevada, is all the guys they meet are like that fucking tiny, dude. So this girl was like amazed with my package. And I'm not bragging, I'm just telling you from her perspective. Is that she was amazed that I actually had some meat down there. And it's like, well, you know, I kind of make meat here, you know what I'm saying, on AngelOfThyNight Radio. But, my life is like a crazy roller coaster. It goes up and down. I mean, I was at the hospital, Carson Tahoe Hospital, and yeah, I went there to pick up some MRIs, but they sent me over the records. Well, I got to records, and the girl's like, you'll have to sign a release so that way we could send the record. I'm like, I already signed the same release for the same doctor at my doctor's office. And, you know, the hospital's linked to my doctor's office. I go to Carson Tahoe. I have a Carson Tahoe doctor out of a satellite office. So all records there eventually end up at the hospital. So I ended up having to fill out a release of records. Now verbal, I can give verbal agreement and say, hey, I want you to send my records to this doctor. And I gave them the doctor's name. There's only one Caribbean Dr. Mac for my pain doctor and pain place on Sierra Rose Parkway. There's only one. And this woman, I had to have security. Security had to escort me out of the hospital because I started getting mad and frustrated because I'm like, look, man, you guys referred me to this doctor. There shouldn't be a release, okay? You referred me to it. And I gave you verbal permission. Well, she gives me this sheet to fill out. Well, silly me left my cell phone in my vehicle, so I couldn't look up the exact address to the place. I knew the doctor, I knew the name. I gave the lady my license. I said, look it up. You guys referred me. That's the doctor. I need you to... She would not do it. I had to walk like a mile back to my vehicle to get my cell phone to list the address for the... Because all I knew was on Sierra Rose Parkway. She goes, well, we don't want to send it to the wrong one. I said to her, how many? I said, how many Dr. Macs are there in Nevada Pain and Spine on Sierra Rose Parkway in fucking Reno? How many? That's what I said. How many? Well, we still don't want to send it to the wrong doctors. Like, you people are dumb. Carson Tahoe, I have had people go to Carson Tahoe, and I'm just going to say on film, because it's going to be on YouTube, there's been a lot of malpractice in the past from people I know have seen a lot of malpractice go on. And I go to multiple doctors through the Carson Tahoe medical system, you know, throughout Carson City and Reno and so forth. And I have for years. But it's getting to the point where, you know, I walk all the way in the hospital, and this woman at customer service and records cannot even help me. And I said, well, can I use your computer? No. I said, so I got to walk all the way to my vehicle, get my phone for a referral you guys gave me. Of course it's the right doctor. Look it up on the records. It'll list the referrals that have been sent over. You can see the referral that this is the place, because I needed them to send my records on over to them. And so what I ended up doing, I'm like, you know what? Just print my records, give me my MRIs on disc, I will take them over myself. The medical system is shit, and it's been shit. And I have great respect for the nurses and doctors that work with COVID patients. They didn't ask for any of this, but I just don't have respect for stupid people that sit at a front desk and weigh 300 fucking pounds and stuff their face with fucking Twinkies all goddamn fucking day and sit there and tell me I gotta walk a mile just to get my phone to give them an address because that may not be the right doctor. Okay, how many African American doctors are there in the pain field with the name Dr. Mac on Sierra Rose Parkway with a referral that you guys gave me for pain? Stupid people. So I started yelling, I started screaming, got escorted out by security. It happens. It happens. It won't be a first and it won't be a last. I get a little loud, I get a little vocal. It just means that I'm a loud Italian man. I'm just a loud Italian man. I'm a teddy bear. I'm a teddy bear. I just get loud. I get excited. I invest everything into what I do. The emotions, the physical part of it all. Everything I do in life, I invest time and energy into. The paranormal, this radio show, even good eats like Lord Ulrich's, pot of gold, corned beef and cabbage, Irish stew. And you know, and I'm gonna put down, this is not just an Irish stew, this is an Italiano Irish stew. Okay, so if you get a little bit of Ireland, a little bit of Italy, and balled together, infused together to make this wonderful slow cooked meal. And so in a couple hours, I got basketball, and when I come back, this will all be done. It'll all start cooking very nicely. So what I want to do is I'm going to put the vegetables back into the pot here, okay? See, because I mixed it up. What I've done is I've mixed it up. This is a lot of vegetables. We're never going to be able to fit them all in there. But what I'll do later on is I'll scoop some potatoes, some cabbage, some celery, and some onions. Be careful not to drop any. I'm the king of like dropping shit on the floors, man. I've been dropping spoons and everything. If the cabbage seems a little too big, you can cut it in half a little more. Just use a knife and cut it on in. So we're going to go ahead and I'm putting all the carrots, I'm mixing all the carrots and the potatoes and the celery all up. Okay. Got ourselves a good mixture here. It's filled to the top. Like I said, you're not going to fit it all in here. What's going to happen is I'm going to end up putting only about half of this into here. So half of the onion, the celery, the carrots and potatoes and cabbage, we're going to put about half in. The other half, I'll probably just put a lid on, and tomorrow I'll cook it up. I'll cook it up in the slow cooker, because once I eat dinner tonight, I'm not going to eat the entire slab of meat. But once I eat some of the meat, and I eat some of the vegetables, I'll have more room to maybe put it in the slow cooker and put it on a few hours more so I could have some more vegetables tomorrow for lunch or dinner or leftovers, you know. We don't want to waste anything. You don't want to cook all this and not eat it. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to be able to cook it. You want to be able to slow cook it. If you have more stew left, you can. It's not going to hurt to put it on low for a few hours tomorrow and warm it up and throw some more vegetables in. But we don't want to waste it. I'm always one of these people that doesn't like to waste food, given the fact that poverty in this country is a real issue, and we live in a country now where our government really is not taking care of its people. People lose their jobs, people are on unemployment, businesses are closing, people are having to go to pantries or starving, they can't feed their kids. And I mean, technically the government should be taking care of a lot of that, in my opinion. That's why other countries are better to live in nowadays, because there's other countries that focus on their citizens more than themselves. You have a bunch of politicians who only care about corporate deals and all the benefits that come. You know, they get pension for life, they get medical, the best medical ever. They're set for life. And they don't have to do a whole lot for us, and we don't hold them accountable enough for their lying and their bullshit. So you got a bunch of people starving. It's not right. It's not their fault. Poverty is a problem in this country. You got the 1% getting richer and richer, and the other 99% are just, it's getting worse and worse. People can't afford to buy houses anymore or anything. A house in Carson City will cost you, a house that's 1,400 square feet, if not less, will cost you $500,000, if not more. It's very expensive to live up here in northern Nevada, as opposed to about 6 years ago, you could buy a house for a couple $100,000, that same house. So poverty is a real issue, because if you don't have enough to make your housing, it means you definitely don't have enough to feed yourself or your family. And so I feel blessed, Irish blessings if you want to call it, that I'm able to have a meal like this. And the thing is that I try to eat right, I try to take care of myself. I'm in good health, but I'm not in the best of health. I have a lot of medical problems. And, to find out recently that I may go blind in one of my eyes because I got deterioration. So at some point in my life, I will need eye surgery. And it's just going to get worse with age. So there may be a point in my life where I may go blind. And I'm a visual person. I like to hike because I like to see the nature. I like to see the wildlife. I like to see the scenery. I like to look at beautiful women. But I use my eyes to do those things. No eyes, you can't see beautiful women, and you certainly can't see Yosemite with its snow-capped peaks. Now, can you? So we're going to let this cook. Okay, I'm going to show you guys what it looks like just festering. Look at all them herbs and spices. Most of the fat is going to boil off. But this is a corned beef. Straight up, this is a corned beef roast. A slow cook roast. Because that's what it is. It's, we're slow cooking this corned beef. And we're going to roast it all day or stew it all day in this special broth soup-like marinade that I made, which will thicken up eventually. And later on, before I head out to my basketball competition, we'll go ahead and we'll add these lovely babies and get these veggies stewed. The onions, the carrots, the celery, the cabbage, and the red potatoes. We'll stew them along with the corned beef, so that way later on when I come home, everything will be ready and just to be put on a plate, which I'll show you guys the final results. It's going to look really good. It's going to be really awesome. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put the lid on this. Put the lid on this. It's going to, probably in about 3 hours, once it's cooking. In about 3 hours into it, we'll go ahead and we'll put our vegetables on in. I'll use about half of this pot. It's a pretty good sized pot. It's filled to the top though. And we'll put about half the vegetables in, as much as we can fit, because the cabbage will break down, so will the onions and the celery. And so the potatoes and the carrots will be the one thing that stays really solid in along with the corned beef. So we'll try to fit in as much as we can, so that way while I'm out at the basketball competition, the vegetables will have a chance to soften, absorb some of the broth that I've made here and seasonings, and eventually some of it will shrink down and it will absorb a lot of it won't be as soupy. I mean, there'll be a little bit after basketball, a little bit, just so you could use a cupina and sprinkle a little bit on your beef and your vegetables. Like a sauce is how I would describe it, or like a natural gravy. But anyways, is there really gravy in Irish stews? I don't know. It depends how thick you make it, I guess. And we can make it very gravy-like or runny. I prefer to thicken up the sauce a little bit that I'm making. I prefer to thicken up the broth a little bit, and that's only going to happen once some of the vegetables absorb it. And the vegetables will absorb a lot of it. And then what you'll have left is some really flavorful, slow-cooked vegetables and corned beef brisket. So that's pretty much the gist of it, guys. The aroma smells so good right now. I mean, I walked about 10 feet away and I can actually smell the flavoring. Okay? I mean, it's just unbelievable on how good this smells. And it's only been cooking now for a little bit over an hour. And again, I have no regrets. This is going to be a wonderful meal tonight. And the hardest thing about slow cooking, like I say, is that even though you're not cooking all day long, you're going to have to take a good half hour to an hour to prep everything. The meat, to season, to add whatever you're going to add in, you know, slice and dice. And so it took me an hour basically to prep this. So look at, if you're going to make this Irish stew, or Lord Ulrich's pot of gold, okay, and you know why we call it a pot of gold. You can kind of understand the pun. But Lord Ulrich's pot of gold is going to take about an hour to prep, because you're going to have to wash all your vegetables, dice all your vegetables, keep them separate. You never want to put them in for 8 hours unless you want mush, unless you want mashed potatoes. You want the vegetables to be soft, but you don't want to pick up a vegetable and it just mush on the plate. That's kind of nasty, you know? But we'll cook the vegetables long enough where they'll absorb some of the flavors that are in here. There's a lot of flavor packed into this little crock pot. A lot of flavor. And it'll continue to cook and flavor the meat. And when we're done flavoring the meat and we add the vegetables, then the vegetables will start to absorb the flavoring as well. Anyways, how did I go from talking about Irish stew to Christianity to talking about prostitutes, right? But anyways, I was saying, you know, with dating apps, escorts, nobody ever looks like they look like. You know, you could see a girl that looks like she could grace the center of Playboy. And then you meet her and she's some strung out skinny meth head and you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So I definitely had an interesting life, because what I normally like to do is I like to meet people. I don't care if you're a doctor, a scientist, a politician, a hooker, I don't care. I like to meet people. I find it entertaining, and it's something I can kind of discuss on my radio show. Like, hey man, I met this person, I met that person. So I was telling you guys I have a lot of medical issues. Well, my spine's not doing too good. I have bone fragments in my neck and all that kind of jazz. So, you know, the pain just radiates down. Well, my new pain doctor, because I've only seen a couple months, he's recommending aquatherapy. Basically, you just sit in a hot tub is what it is. And you move around and blah, 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 whatever. It's aquatherapy. And it's something that a lot of pain doctors are using, because really they're trying to nullify pain opiates and pain meds. And they're trying to find new ways to help people. And I keep saying over and over, a massage therapist would help my back. That's about the only thing that really seems to work, is someone who knows how to work the knots out and kinks out of my spine and back. And insurance, for some reason, insurance don't ever want to pay for that shit. You could go see Candy the stripper. She'll give you a back massage. She might end up like hurting you worse, because she's not a licensed massage therapist, but I had to have a bunch of MRIs and x-rays done, you know, and I always hate those fucking gowns. You guys know what I'm talking about. They tie here. Well, I have a hard time tying mine in the back, and, you know, because my arms are killing me in my spine. I always tell you, like, strip down your clothes, put on the gown. Well, I went to the doctor's, the MRI facility, and to have some x-rays and a couple MRIs done. Couldn't tie the back. At least I didn't tie it very well. I'm walking around with my ass hanging out. Bare ass, just like this in my gown, like this. Got no clothes on, my ass is hanging out, and this beautiful x-ray technician comes up behind me, just walks right up to me and says, "You're showing," and fucking ties my gown for me. They're like the prettiest little x-ray technicians. Southern girl, fucking petite brunette, long brown hair, cute, just cute. Nice body, just like, I know under that x-ray technician outfit of yours, you got yourself a hot body. But I mean, this girl came up to me, just like walked up to me and tied my gown. It was like the greatest thing that happened to me. Then again, maybe something even greater happened to me. The day before, I was at my pain doctor, and there's this little nurse. She's like 90 pounds, but she's smoking cute. She's a cute girl. Just tiny little Latin girl. Nice caramel tan, real pretty face, young, she's in her young 20s, fucking grabbed my arm to do my blood pressure and says, "You could hold on to my leg if you need to." What do you think I did? I took her up on the offer. And when she was done with the fucking blood pressure, my hand was still on her leg. She had some nice fucking legs. And she gave me permission to hold her leg. It wasn't like I just said, hey, I'm going to grab your ass and leg and everything else. No, I didn't do that. I think there was some mutual attraction there and a little bit of flirting going on, and she was comfortable with me feeling up her leg while she was doing my blood pressure. So not only did I reveal myself to a cute x-ray technician, okay, not only did I reveal my fucking junk to her, and she fucking junk's all fucking hanging and shit. You know how it is being a man. If you got some junk that fucking hangs, it don't matter. You don't see just ass, man. You see the fucking dong like a fucking church bell. Bong, 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 dong, dong. Fucking look at the Irish, man. Ding dong, ding dong. Fucking, that's what I did for my St. Patties, right? That's what I did for St. Patties. That's what I did for the Ides of March, man. Showed off my fucking ding dong. And not only that, but I got to feel some leg. About the two most exciting things I've done this week. Besides pull over and get lectured by a hooker about how wrong this is that we pulled over in my vehicle to do it right here. And it's like, it's as good place as any. You think it makes a difference whether we park in the casino parking lot or I take you to the park? She was more offended that we didn't do it in a public place than a park where there's nobody at. She was more offended. And I didn't even do anything. This woman talked her ear off for like an hour about all her life problems, about how she has no money, this is going wrong, guys are robbing her. And I'm thinking, if you're being robbed by men and they're beating you up and they're raping you and shit, maybe you should get out of the adult industry. See, I don't treat girls that way. I have great respect for women. And even hookers, adult entertainers, strippers, I have great respect for these women. I'm not out to rape them. I'm not out to rob them. I like good conversation. I like company is what I like. Good company. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with adult entertainment. If something floats your boat, go for it, as long as it's not hurting anybody. But it's pretty bad when you go to a park where there's nobody around. I have tinted windows, limo tinted windows. Now, I mean, I could put my dong right up to the window like this, hey, 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 and there ain't a soul that's going to see my fucking junk. And this woman's all worried about giving me a handy dandy in the back seat of my vehicle. Like, who the fuck's going to know her seat? Who the fuck? And it was funny because when we parked there, some lady pulls up with these two yippity-yappity little dogs. And all I did is I'm like, oh my god, I just want my Peter sucked, I just want my Peter sucked. That's what I want my Peter sucked. I'm on my way doing errands, I need a break, I got about 20 minutes free, suck my Peter. Well, that exactly didn't happen the way I wanted it to, because I had to sit there and listen to the life story of a hooker for an hour. I had to talk about the law for like an hour. I had to deal with this woman and her yappy dogs who was like spying on me. Maybe she knew what was happening, me and the girl sitting there. I don't know, but her dogs were like surrounding my truck. Can you imagine getting your fucking junk blowing and all of a sudden you got these dogs. What a buzz fucking kill, dude. Might as well go home and watch fucking porn and get myself off, for Christ's sakes. At this fucking point. But this girl made it mandatory to show me her hoo-hoo. She lifts her skirt and she goes, I seen you looking at my pussy. And I'm just like, no. She goes, you know what? I'm going to offer you a special. I said, what's that? I'm going to fuck you for free. Dude, I refused that pot of gold. I refused that pot of gold because it wasn't fucking gold that was in there. Sometimes at the end of the rainbow you find a pot of gold. Sometimes at the end of the rainbow you find a pot full of fucking diseases. And I was not going to go for that. So, life is strange, like I say. Life is strange. And some people say, is that all you do is go enjoy adult entertainment? Well, no, adult entertainment's a side thing when I'm in the mood. It's not it's not like an everyday thing. I mean, an everyday thing for me is cooking, taking care of my pets, being a family man, being a dad to my kids. Now my kids are adults also, they don't really want to be fathered. You know what I'm saying? And I guess just the regular motions in life. I work a lot more, so it's harder for me to put videos up on YouTube. I have thousands of hours of movies that I have not even put up at YouTube. I'm working on a movie right now. It's probably come out sometime later next week. But we're going to start putting urban explorations and paranormal adventures back on our site. And every time I add them on my site, it'll go with a movie for YouTube. So we're going to start putting up dozens, hundreds of movies on YouTube. It's going to take me time to work on it, but I spend a lot of my time working on that. I also work I also have a couple jobs, and I have to save my money because I want to buy a house or I want to move out of northern Nevada. I was thinking about living in southern Oregon, you know, just getting a nice small farm and just living happily ever after, you know. I mean, dream come true, I guess, for me. Have woods in my backyard and go looking for Sasquatch out in my backyard. But I definitely am working real hard to save my money. And it can be hard. It can be hard as expensive it is to live here, so I get why this country's in poverty. I get it. Past weekend, we always do a St. Patty's Day adventure, and this time I decided to go to Wendell and Flanagan. They're two railroading ghost towns, semi-ghost towns. There's a couple people that live up there, but mainly all the structures are abandoned and there's foundations. But these were railroading towns back in the early 1900s. And they were terminuses for three major railroads. Because when you start hitting Reno and Portola and Sacramento, and when you start hitting northern Reno and California, there was a lot of railroads. And you'd have a railroad that split off to Bodie. You'd have a railroad that went up to Modoc in Oregon, near Shasta, up near Mount Shasta. You had a railroad that went to Susanville, and a railroad down to Sacramento. And you could go to Reno and then take the spur out, the Transcontinental Railroad, and end up in Chicago, and take Chicago all the way to New York. There was a lot of railroads here in the West. Thing about Wendell is most of the train tracks have been torn up, but it was a terminus for three railroads. Great ghost town. I explored a boarding house, an old post office, an abandoned train station, got to see an old railroad water tower and a mill, some mill ruins, and then I off-roaded and followed the railroad into Nevada. These are back routes. These are not major highways, but I took dirt roads and back routes from Northern California into Nevada and ended up in a small ghost town, which not much left but an abandoned house and a couple foundations named Flanagan. Climbed a bunch of boxcars. Here I am wearing this. Fucking climbing train towers and boxcars. I'm sure the locals thought I was nuts. Speaking of locals, this lady, there isn't many people, there may be less than 5 or 6 people that live in each semi-ghost town, but this lady comes at me with her dog. She's got her dog, she's holding it by the collar. You don't walk a dog by its collar, okay, because that's the wrong way to teach a dog. You walk it on a leash, it's a dog. And if you don't have it on a leash, then it better walk on your side. My dog Winston, he goes to work with me, he goes to the store, he goes everywhere with me, he's a service dog. He also listens to me, like I don't walk him with his collar. He walks next to me or either on a leash. This lady, I mean, like this trashy fucking lady all come out, and she was trashy, and bored, and nosy, and watching me from her house, because that's what people do, like as if they've never seen someone set up a tripod and a camera before and film a historic building or photograph a building. This is a well-photographed place because it's, not only is a depot original and one of the last remaining things of this ghost town standing, but you're surrounded by snow-capped peaks and mountains. It's a beautiful valley. So I went out to Honey Lake, drove around Honey Lake, went to Wendell, and this woman has her dog on a collar, fucking pulling, and she's coming closer. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? I said, what's it look like I'm doing? You're just taking pictures? Yeah, and I'm on a public street because the town has a lot of dirt roads, but it also has paved roads. So I was standing on the street, had my tripod set up, and was filming and taking photos. You could see it was a camera on a tripod. And she gets about 10 feet away from me, walks a whole, like, eighth of a mile, or, like, she walks like 500 feet up to me with her dog lunging at me, growling, trying to intimidate me. Trying to say, well, I got a big dog, and I'm thinking, well, my dogs are in the truck, and I'm armed to the fucking teeth, so what's your point? I mean, sometimes you go to these places and the locals aren't right in the head. This lady obviously was a bored housewife. The lady had 2 kids running around climbing a bunch of shit out in the fucking desert. And she comes up to me with her dog lunging at me, and it's like you gotta be really bored to go up to some strange guy wearing a green top hat or whatever you want to call is on my head. I got my St. Patty's getup and my camera on my tripod, not bothering a person in the world. And you just keep shouting and hooting and hollering at me, and then you walk up to me with your dog to try to intimidate me. I've had people try to zig their dog at me, and it's like, look, man, I don't want to have to shoot your dog. I got a gun, I'm armed. If your dog's gonna maul me and kill me, I'm going to have to fucking take action. I'm not gonna just let your dog rip my throat out. Some people just don't know how to socialize and train their dogs. But this lady, man, she came out there fucking, I was just trying to ignore her at first. She just kept shouting at me, shouting, what are you doing? It's like, dude, you know, they act like when you go to somebody's place, like you're the first human they've ever seen in their life. Like you're some Martian from fucking outer space. That's how I felt. I felt like I was a fucking Martian. A green fucking alien landing in the middle of Wendell, and people were just frozen like what the fuck is that? A ghost towner with a camera and a tripod? I mean, you've never seen a camera and a tripod? Maybe they've never seen anybody like me. I don't know. And you know, people hate on me all the time. Okay? There's this one guy we used to explore with, Chris Geigel or whatever. The guy's an alcoholic. The guy's kind of a jackass. I mean, I don't really have much to say. I've said what I had to say on YouTube. And this dude, he bombs my channel and says, he's the hardest worker I know. It's like, dude, but you haven't ghost town with this guy. This guy will put your life at risk. Because this guy doesn't even bring a spare tire. Nor does he do the driving. He has other people drive his vehicle for him so he can sit in the back seat and get drunk. And it's just ridiculous, dude. Because that's all it is for him, is an excuse to go fucking drinking. Oh, we're out ghost town and let's get drunk. And for me, you know, there's a lot of times I smoke bud in between ghost towns, but while I'm doing a ghost town, I don't really have a lot of time to sit there and drink beer or smoke bud. And, you know, this guy drove home and nearly had a head-on collision and killed me. Not only that, but he almost drove us off a cliff, and it was like hanging halfway off and shit. And he just kept backing up and laughing. It's like, dude, you are the worst driver ever I've seen. I have an extra large truck, the extra length Suburban, and I take that thing on single lane dirt roads on cliffs, and it may take me 20 times of turning the vehicle around, but I do it safely and I get it done. And this guy couldn't even drive his small little SUV that he had. But you know, it brought his wife out and it got to a point where it was like becoming domestic violence almost. I mean, getting in each other's face. It was just getting bad. It's like, don't bring your spouse if you plan on spending the whole day arguing in front of me. It's embarrassing. I don't want a part of it. I go to ghost towns for peace and quiet so I don't have to deal with people. And this dude was very hateful about how I look and how he's the real deal and I'm not because I'm gothic. In other words, because you're gothic, what you're basically saying, because I'm gothic, I can't urban explore, I can't explore ghost towns, that I'm not good at it. I've been to hundreds of mines and ghost towns. I'm still alive, I'm still safe. And most of these ghost towns are in very dangerous places with a lot of crazy locals. And I'm still here to tell you guys a story. So I went to Wendell, dealt with a crazy local. She chased me down with her dog. It was a little bit, to be honest with you, it was a little uncomfortable and weird because it's like, I go to places to get peace and quiet, and sometimes I end up not finding peace and quiet. Even went to the old Stacy Cemetery. It's like this 30-grave cemetery in the middle of nowhere. And I get in the cemetery, and all of a sudden some farmer hops the fence. And I guess he's a farmhand or whatever, and he spent like a half hour talking to me about the cemetery. It was cool that I was there. He didn't have an issue with me walking around taking pics. It was a family cemetery for the farm he worked on. But a lot of people go up to it, but nobody had any pictures inside it except the interment site had some pictures of some of the graves. I don't even see them, half of them were gone, but it was heavily vandalized. Like the upper crypts or whatever were missing the coffins, graves were tipped over, and he was fixing the fence because he says the cattle want to continuously come into the cemetery. Well, you could tell. All the graves had been stepped on, there was cow manure everywhere. It was in pretty bad shape. But Stacy used to be a railroading town. Now it's a bunch of abandoned farms, and there was a lot of like shanties and shit out there. But I mean, I went out to Stacy to look for the railroading town. Didn't really find anything. Found this one abandoned house, but it was newer. You know, we're talking 50, 60 years old. Went out to this place called Duck Lake. Went to pull out by the lake bed. There was no lake. The whole lake vanished. Just the whole lake vanished. All you could see in every direction is mountains and the sand bed of a fucking lake that no longer exists. Got to right over the playa. Out near Flanagan, the ghost town, it's a playa. Very similar to the Black Rock Desert. As a matter of fact, it's not too far from the Black Rock Desert. So you get these playas where certain times a year it's just dry, sandy, salty, cracked desert floor. And then certain times a year the playa gets muddy, absorbs water, and the water settles from the snow melt and so forth. And so then you have some acolyte, you have an acolyte desert bed basically. Well, I got to ride in some of them through some of the muddy playa, hang around boxcars, and I went to 3 railroading ghost towns this past weekend. Drove all the way up to Northern California, went around Honey Lake, went east, followed the old train tracks into Nevada, and then took a bunch of dirt roads up near Flanagan and headed southeast and drove along the mysterious Pyramid Lake, which is said they have a lake monster, crying babies, people have seen strange lights. It's been home to the northern Paiutes, the northern Nevada Paiutes, for thousands of years. They found recently, a few years ago, some pottery and mummies, I guess. I mean, the Paiutes came here over 5,000 years ago, and Pyramid Lake is kind of their focal point. The tribe has always been there, and during the Paiute Indian Wars, they were placed on reservations. If you didn't live on the reservation, you definitely lived in Sutcliffe and around Pyramid Lake. And today, not much has changed. But I was able to drive through at sunset along Pyramid Lake after finishing 3 railroad ghost towns. So I'm still out exploring. I'm still out doing what I do. People think just because I have medical issues or because my nails are black and I'm gothic or a rock and roller type of dude, they think that I'm not good at what I do. But I have to tell you, I'm good at what I do at work. I'm good at what I do urban exploration-wise, and I'm a damn good paranormal investigator. And I've spent the last decade, over 10 years now, I'd say probably 12 or 13 years, maybe 15 years now, I've been doing ghost towns around Nevada, Arizona, California, Utah, and the West. I've just been working on the West, and we're slowly getting them all done. I mean, just because they're not on our site or YouTube doesn't mean I haven't been there or I haven't done it. We do a lot of work. And I'm not doing this looking to get famous or looking to gain 10,000 more members. I'm looking to just to let you be part of something, to share with you guys something, and let you enjoy the work we do, to see places that you normally would not get to see or experience through my video and through my photos and historical write-ups. And so the work I do is really good, and you know, Chris Geigel now and then sends all his little friends to go hate on me on my YouTube, and it's always about how I look, how I dress, my rings, my nails. It's like, what are you trying to say, dude? You know, it doesn't make me any less credible of a researcher based on how I look. You're not any less of a guitarist if you're fucking inked up, or less of a drummer because you got rings and piercings. You know, it's just, or just like a lawyer. You're not any less of a lawyer or doctor just because you have tattoos. I mean, or you're not any less of a nurse because your hair is pink and purple. And trust me, I've had a lot of nurses with pink and purple hair lately. Doesn't bother me. I don't judge on appearance. We live in a society where racism and stereotyping and all these things, cancel culture, and people just, the way people are acting is like a bunch of pansies. Like, they act like if you look a certain way, you have to look a certain way to be a ghost town explorer. And I don't have to look anyway. I could go to a ghost town with my balls and dick fucking hanging out. The point is, as long as I go to that ghost town and I do it safely and I come back with a good story to share with you guys, it's all that matters. So if you're going to hate on my YouTube, I would appreciate if his friends would let him fight his own battles instead of his friends trying to fight his battles for him just because I am opinionated about the guy. The guy's an alcoholic. I don't care if you want to have a drink. I don't care if you want to smoke some bud. But if you let your vices control you in life, you become a risk to everybody else around you. We're out going in ghost towns and mines. You're drunk. Your decision making is terrible. You know, you're putting me in harm's way when there doesn't need to be harm's way. And that's my whole point, is that, you know, you jeopardize me. You jeopardize my safety. I come to you in confidence and tell you, hey man, I don't appreciate all the drama on the last trip. And you tell me, go back to fucking New York. You have no business exploring ghost towns. Now you got your friends hating on me. And that's my whole point. I am still doing what I do. I am still doing it up. I am still exploring 100-mile backcountry roads. I'm still going into mines. I'm still visiting ghost towns. I'm going to places that aren't even listed. Places that I find, because I want to be original. I don't want to copy everyone. And we know those other ghost town groups, a lot of them copy our site and me. So if I don't put anything up, too bad, so sad. And so we're 5 years behind on YouTube videos, which is good, because by the time I put up my YouTube videos, a lot of these places will be gone. And nobody can steal them, try to make money off them. None of Chris's goons and his friends will steal my places because I just won't put them up. Your loss. You want to act like an asshat, I'll be a real asshat. I'll wait 10 years to put it up on YouTube. That way the place is gone and you don't get to see it. You don't get to copy it. And I don't want to be an asshole like that. But I'm tired of the trolls. I'm tired of the hate speech. And, you know, people don't understand that AngelOfThyNight Radio is a satirical show. Sometimes we do cooking. Sometimes we do stand-up comedy. Sometimes I just talk about my paranormal adventures to the Paranormal Ghost Society. In this case, I love the springtime. I love March, April, and May. Those are prime months to do ghost towns. We don't do ghost towns in the summer. That Chris dude used to go out in the middle of the desert in the middle of July when it's 110 degrees and there's rattlesnakes everywhere. Then you get bit by a rattlesnake and you fucking die because you don't make it to the hospital. No thank you. You want to avoid rattlesnakes? Go ghost town in January, February, March, maybe even April. Past April, it starts to get warm, rattlesnakes are out, becomes a little dangerous. It's hot out, 100 degrees out. And this is a guy that doesn't even bring water. This is a guy that doesn't even bring supplies. So if he breaks down on a 40-mile dirt road and has to walk 40 miles through the desert, he's not going to make it. He's going to die. And I'm just a realist. So we load the truck. We prep it with lots of water, firewood, supplies, tools, all that, because you go back on a railroad town like Wendell and Flanagan, and you want to take backcountry routes and you see nothing but mountains for 50 miles, no towns nearby, no people for days. What do you do if you break down? You have to have food, you have to have water, you have to have supplies. So we're a very organized group. And so don't let my appearance fool you, okay? Because the only type of people I like to deal with is people with brains and intelligence. And I am not gonna hang out with losers. I'm not gonna hang out with crackheads. We're not gonna go adventuring with a bunch of alcoholics who mumbling and shit you can't understand. We're gonna go out and we're gonna do these places Lord Rick style, Paranormal Ghost Society style, the way it's always been done, safely but adventurous. And if there's any risk, I will take them myself. I'll never put someone else in harm's way. You want to stay at the vehicle while I climb that cliff? Go for it. I'm the one that's a paranormal investigator and urban explorer. I'm the one that's producing the films. I will take the risk. So, we just got back from Wendell, Flanagan, 2 railroad towns in the early 1900s. The Honey Lake Valley was established in the 1850s. Very old town called Milford. It's a milling town. Now it's more of just a farming town, but there's a pumpkin patch on the lake that we went to, and this time I was on the other side of the pumpkin patch, on the other side of the lake in Wendell. I got to visit the wildlife refuge over there, drive from Northern California all the way through Nevada along the mysterious Pyramid Lake shoreline. So a really cool adventure, and eventually, I can't say it's going to come out this year or next, but in a few years I'll put up the adventure. I'm always trying to find these places where people don't go. And when it came to Wendell, nobody had gone in any of the buildings. They were scared of the no trespassing signs, the locals, this, that. And I walked up to the place and I fucking did it up Lord Rick style. Went in the train station, went in the boarding house, went in the post office, climbed the water tower. Fucking even dealt with the locals, man. This lady had her dog like this, and it's like, dude, why is it necessary for you to walk up to me holding your dog? If you're scared of me and you feel you need your dog to guard you, why not just not confront me at all or come up to me at all? Why is it necessary to confront me or have a confrontation? What if I was some psycho and just decided bam, bam, bam because I panicked because I didn't like dogs or something? I like dogs and I'm not psycho. But crazy, yes. But what if you came up to me with your dog barking like that and growling and I turned out to be a nut job? I mean, my whole thing is I don't nose around people's business. What you do is what you do, what I do is I do. You want to have sex in the park in your vehicle with some girl, that's not my business. Just like you want to sit there and you want to smoke a bowl out in the park or whatever, that's your business, that's not my business. And it's the same thing. I want to take pictures of these old abandoned buildings. When you see me, I am in the road, a public country road, parked off to the side with my tripod. I'm not bothering anybody, and you chose to confront me. You chose to go out of your way, leave your house, and bring your dog, and if your dog got off, let's say the leash broke, and your dog mauled me, then there would be a confrontation. Because then I would end up having to be, since I was far from my vehicle, I would have ended up having to be self-defensive. And the dog could have gotten hurt, who knows? The lady could have been crazy and fucking had a gun up her fucking back and shot me. Oh, don't hurt my dog. Okay, your dog's mauling me. So, sometimes you go to these semi-ghost towns, you got a person or two living in a trailer in the middle of nowhere, and they think that everything's theirs. Like the whole town, it's like, this isn't your property, man. I mean, yeah, you can look it over. If you see me spray painting and vandalizing, you can take some kind of action or call the fucking sheriff. Even though it might take them 2 hours to get there. The point is that wasn't hurting anything, and this local just took it upon themselves to try to use intimidation on me. Intimidation don't work. So if you're going to go on my YouTube and you're going to be intimidating me, it's not going to work either. So either you can, join in the conversation, you can join in and comment, be cool, be collective, chill. We could talk about the paranormal, we could talk about history, we could talk about ways to tweak food. But I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to argue with trolls. I'm not going to even give you the time of day. And the funny thing is that all these trolls, they want to bomb my channel, and then they block themselves so they don't give me a chance to respond or defend myself. Which tells me right then and there's cowards who are running their dick suckers, and they have nothing positive to say. They run their dick suckers. They expect to get something out of it. It's like, you just blocked me. I even approved that dude's nasty comment. I want to show the world how rude people can be on my channel. I approved it, and the comment didn't go through because the dude blocked me. So I was like, what the hell was your point even? You know what I'm saying? So instead of trolling my channel, try to look at the perks to this. AngelOfThyNight Radio is a satirical program. It's made to be funny, but it's also a place to give you guys the truth. And this is Lord Rick, and we're live here in Carson City. And you're listening to Angel of Thy Night Radio. So everybody, I'm going to finish up the last segment. Not the last segment in the show, but I'm going to wrap up this segment. I'm going to come on before I got to go to basketball. I'm going to put the vegetables in. It's going to be a real short segment. And then when I come back, I'll put it on a plate so that you guys can see it after I'm back from my basketball competition. We're going to have a nice full 5-on-5 game today, full court, for a couple hours. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've been doing this now for a year, but we actually have a full roster of like 10 guys that play. So everybody's been coming out having a good time playing basketball. This here, it's a perfect meal to have after a day of hiking or basketball or whatever you decide to do. There's not much more that needs to be done. I put the vegetables in, let it cook for a few hours with the meat's going to be in for 3 hours, 4 hours, and then we'll have the vegetables in for a couple hours. And by the time I come home and eat, this roast will have been cooking for about 8.5 to 9 hours. So by then, the meat should just pull apart. The thing is if I was here, I would cut up the meat. Probably in a couple hours before I put the vegetables in, I'm going to cut the meat into 2 or 3 pieces. The reason why is I want some of the flavoring of the broth and the stew that I'm making. I want it to be able to be absorbed into the meat. And if you got a hunk of meat and you marinate it, it's hard. If you don't put holes in the meat or the meat doesn't soak long enough, the center of the meat won't absorb any of the flavoring. So how do you remedy that? You cut the meat into some chunks and pieces. That way, more of the meat is flavored. And that way, the meat can absorb more of the marinade or the broth that I had made. This is more than just broth, though. This is a little bit like an Irish gravy, an Irish Italian gravy, because we've got a lot of Italian seasonings and garlic and so forth in it. It's not all Irish here, but it's a mix of Irish and Italian. And of course, this is Lord Ulrich's magical pot of gold. Pot. Just hearing the word pot is funny. Every time I hear the word pot, I'm like, pot? Pot? And there is pot in it. There's pot within the pot. You know what I'm saying? Pot within the pot. And there's some whiskey too, you know what I'm saying? So anyhow, guys, I'm going to show you what it's looking like, okay? And I'm going to fly on out of here. I got to go get suited up for basketball and all that. And I'll be back in a couple hours, and then we'll unveil it once I put the vegetables on in, and I'll show you guys what it looks like. We'll finish one of the last segments of the show until I get back. But I want to thank you guys for watching AngelOfThyNight Radio. And I also want to say on the top of the morning to you, but it's not morning anymore. It's almost 1 p.m. We got basketball today. We got some good eats. Some talk about adult entertainment. What more could you guys ask for here on AngelOfThyNight Radio? And this is Lord O'Rick's Pot of Gold Italian, Irish, corned beef and cabbage stew. It's like a stew, right? It's like a stew with the potatoes and the carrots all in it. And if you guys are interested, you can go. I have another Irish stew recipe that I made. I think I made two types. I made two types of Irish stew. And one I made on the stove, and I think I made one in the slow cooker, and one was with Guinness. If you guys go search my videos and type in Irish stew under my videos, you will see, and back in 2014 I did do a special Irish episode with some Irish stew. But this differs a little bit. This has bourbon in it, Worcestershire sauce, pickled seasonings like the dill mustard seed. We're adding a lot more to it, such as the garlic and the marijuana and so forth, and the beef broth as well. Because I've never. Here's the thing: you can cook. It's better. Like if you, let's say you make chicken soup, better to cook it in chicken broth, right? Than water. Water's good and can absorb flavor if you add seasonings and different things to the water. But this has no water in it. This is made, well, this has no plain Jane water. This has beef broth. So the meat is cooking in the broth itself, which is just going to add to the flavor. With the vegetables too, and you're going to get a perfect stew. It's not going to be your typical Irish stew either. And I'll show you guys what I mean once it's all done. It's just an amazing, I mean, you'd have to taste it to believe it. And you guys will get to taste it if you follow the recipe how I made it. You guys will be pretty impressed with it too, I guarantee you. This is Lord Rick. We're live in Carson City and you're listening to AngelOfThyNight Radio. We'll be back shortly after this break, folks. Oh yeah, this is looking delightful. Look how good that looks. It's got a ways to go. This is going to have to cook for a few hours, simmer a few hours before I put the vegetables in. But I mean, it's looking pretty good, man. I mean, it's looking pretty good. And the aroma, oh my God, just beautiful. So we're just going to let this fester for a while. And of course, you know, this will thicken up a little bit. And what you'll want to do is you'll take a piece of meat and I'll put it on a plate, and then I'll put some vegetables around it, and we'll take some of the stewed gravy or stewed broth, which is full of seasonings, as you guys can see, and I'll just drizzle it on top of the vegetables and meat once this is completely done. It's going to be really amazing. But it's all, I mean, it's all, as you can see, it's just full of herbs and flavor. And how you know it's going to be really good is you can smell the aroma of corned beef throughout the whole house. It's not the corned beef that you really smell. It's the dill pickling of the mustard seed and the cinnamon and ginger and the bay leaves and red pepper and caraway and the coriander and the black pepper and clove and the Himalayan salt. And it's just, you put all that together, and zesty garlic and a nice cut of corned beef meat, and as the fat's slowly cooking into the broth, I mean, just the aroma is just heavenly. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. We'll be back shortly. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm back with the second portion of the show. The last two portions of the show, including this one, are going to be very small in comparison to prepping this slow cooker meal. But anyhow, we have Lord O'Rick's Pot of Gold, Italiano, Irish, corned beef and cabbage. It's kind of strange. People always, when they cook, it's either Mexican, it's Chinese, it's Italian. When I cook, I try to incorporate other cultures and mix them together, which is why my cooking is so unique. And there's nothing wrong with that, because cooking's like an art, just like the perfect shot in basketball, or painting or drawing, or even paranormal investigating. It's an art. Being so creative and artistic that the outcome is unique in itself. And so we want to produce on our cooking shows very unique outcomes when we make dishes like these. Because people ask all the time, well, it's a cooking show, why is it so long? Well, it's very simple. Besides, when I cook for you guys, because cooking takes time. The more time you put in, the better tasting the food's going to be. But also it's because Angel of the Night Radio is a place where comedy meets reality. So let's go ahead. Let me show you what it looks like after a few hours of cooking. The outside of the meat is now starting to cook. It doesn't mean internally it's done. We're going to have to go ahead and we're going to have to kind of slice and dice it. But I'm going to show you that the fat is finally cooking off, which it's supposed to. I had it on high, put the meat on high for a while, and then I turned it back on low. And we'll let the vegetables stew for a few hours, and then when I come home from my basketball game, I will have a wonderful Italiano, Irish, wholesome meal that we can be proud of. So, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get the vegetables, I'm going to put them out. This is going to be a really kick-ass meal. And as you guys can see, I'm all dressed up for St. Patty's Day basketball competition. This is part of my uniform. I usually wear a black or a red hat. We have a couple of uniforms. You know, we got the mask. We got to wear a mask at the MAC facility, which is fine. I don't have an issue. But the thing is that the facility has come down hard on us over everything. It's like you barely have people playing here. Nobody's really reserving courts. And you turn around, you take away our music. We're not allowed to bring our boombox. I have this boombox. I play music for the guys. It only goes so loud. You can only really hear it in the court we're playing at. But we have this kid that always is like, you know, just because he smiles and is nice and to your face doesn't mean he's not being an asshole. And the kid bitched me out. I got bitched out by 2 employees working at the MAC. We can't have music. We can't play music because apparently some kids brought a Bluetooth speaker and were playing verbally very vulgar rap. And it's like, dude, does it look like I'm playing vulgar rap? We're sitting here playing techno, goth, and instrumental music and 80s rock and roll and shit, and you come up to a group of guys who, by the way, aren't little 15-year-old kids playing vulgar rap, and you ask me to turn my shit off. And so, we can't wait till we get practicing outdoors on our regular court, because then A, we don't have to pay the MAC, B, we can have our sound system, C, we don't have to be babysat by a teenager who comes around every 10 minutes to tell us, break it up, no 4 people on a court, no 5 people on a court, no games. We continuously push back and we play games anyways because really it's our right. I mean, you are not the law. It's our bodies if we choose to play. I mean, I'm vaccinated for a reason because I want to play basketball. I don't want to get anyone sick. I want to stay healthy so I don't get sick and pass it on to somebody else. But they've canceled our season, they've canceled our music, they've basically canceled our ability to even play 3-on-3, 2-on-2. You can't even really play with 3 people. And the funny thing is, all the employees will let their friends come in, they'll play full court games. They won't say shit to your friends, but they always want to come up to our team because of how I look. Rings, black nails, weird hats, sunglasses, so they always want to pick, when there's really nothing to pick on. We've had a team at the MAC for a few years. We're an established team. I'm a coach. Coaches should always get the ability to be able to play music for their players practicing. just like coaches should be able to have the final decision. If the coach doesn't want to play a practice with more than 3 guys or less than 3 guys, it should be really up to the coach, not the facility. Because we're the ones that have to go home at the end of the day. And so our decisions will reflect things. Either we're going to be hella good basketball players by the time we come and play into the competition in the league, or we're all going to die from COVID. Nobody's gotten COVID yet from our basketball team. We've been playing now for a year, practicing once, twice a week. So it's really hard. It's like you want to take away everything. You constantly got to come by and tell us to slip our mask up. We're not allowed to play games. We're not allowed to run music. 2 weeks ago, the employee that continues to tattletale like a little bitch turned around and told the manager there that he smells weed on me. So then the director comes up to me and says, next time roll the windows down, and we've had some complaints of you smelling like marijuana. I said, complaints? You only have one employee operating the facility, and I just went up to your employee 5 minutes ago for him to lower a hoop, and you turn around and tell me, oh, we've had some complaints by a couple people today. What couple people? My own team's all 420 friendly. Well, they all smoke weed. Some of them can't because of their job, but they, at one time or another, used to be consistent 420 smokers. So my own team's not going to turn me in. My own team doesn't even care if I come reeking of weed. They'll be like, that smells good. How about we go smoke a joint out back? You know, that kind of thing. So it's legal in the state of Nevada. You can smell like what the fuck you want to smell. If people got a problem with it, oh well. I always try to smoke a blunt or I smoke a joint before I go and I play, because I'm very susceptible to injuries and pain and muscle spasms. I gotta have some medicinal marijuana. I don't smoke to get high or fucked up. I have a high tolerance to begin with, but I do smoke. That way I'm not as tense, so I'm not pulling muscles when I'm out there running around at 40-something years old, full speed, against some 20-year-old guy. You know what I'm saying? So I get basically told, don't come in smelling like weed. Like, whoa, 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 dude. I could come in smelling like booze. It is legal in the state of Nevada. And even if you don't know if I just got done smoking one, my clothes could smell of it. Or I leave my clothes in my truck, I smoke in my truck. Close the windows. I smoke in my truck, I smoke around my clothes. So you don't know. So I feel like the MAC is kind of being rude to our team lately. You guys know I'm a proud sponsor of the MAC facility in Carson, but they're just not bringing enough sports to Carson City. It's all about baseball. Baseball leagues can be approved. 20 guys can sit on a bench, give each other COVID. But you have 5 guys running around playing basketball. Whoa, no way, no can do. And all they can do is warn us, but then we have to continuously break it up every time we play. However, we like to keep things cordial and like the facility to respect us as a team and respect me as a coach. And I'll make sure I respect the facility as well and make sure my guys keep on mask and that kind of thing. But it's just gotten so ridiculous. So what we're going to do, because I got to get going to practice, I got to hurry up. I'm going to show you guys the meat, and I'm going to put the vegetables in, and we're just going to let it cook for a few hours on low. When I come back, it'll be ready to eat. See, now it's a brownish colored on the outside because it's cooking, you know. And you see it's kind of foamy like this. Well, some of it could be the baking soda, but a lot of it's the fat is cooking up. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to, if you can do it, cut the meat in half. If you don't want to cut the meat in half, you can put little slices throughout it. And I'm just going to cut it in 4 squares. Break it up. That way it's not all in the middle. Because what I want to do is I want to mix in the vegetables. And I don't want a hunk of meat in the middle of vegetables. I want about 4 husks of meat. Okay, so now we got it separated. There's 4 large chunks of meat. Okay. We're going to throw the carrots, the celery, the red potatoes, the cabbage, and the purple sweet onions all on into here. And just let it do its job. Just cook for the next few hours. Lid on low. and I broke apart the meat because it's better that way, because now the meat can even be, it'll be more flavorful and more tender, and it'll also boil off more of the fat because now you got 4 chunks of meat. So it's more surface area being covered by broth, I should say. So we're going to stew the vegetables, continue to stew the meat. It's not going to be done right away. It's going to take a few more hours, but it's going to be awesome once it's all said and done. So we'll go ahead, and I'm going to put all the, I'm going to choose and pick what I want, because if I just dump this all in, it's not going to allow me to choose. You know, it could end up being all cabbage, or I tried to mix it the best I could, but I want an even amount of onion, celery, and so we'll throw this all in. You can use a spoon or your hands, it doesn't matter. I wash my hands constantly when I cook, because I'm like a germaphobe. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to throw in a bunch of carrots. I'm going to pack it as good as I can with potatoes, onions, celery. Remember, the vegetables also offer some flavor too. So you definitely want to put an even amount of vegetables. And I'm going to use about, I'd say I'll probably use about half. Tomorrow I'll end up stewing some more vegetables with whatever meat I got left. The vegetables is really what makes it. I know I said it's the meat, but the thing is, the vegetables are a nice side to go with the meat. Because yeah, you could eat all meat, but what fun is that? You know, I got a nice vegetable medley I put together here, so you got a little bit of everything. You got some potatoes, some wholesome carrots, and that's going to add to the flavoring too, but that's also going to fill you up. Because see, I don't know about you, but I could eat like 6 pieces of corned beef and not be full. But if you throw some potatoes in with that meat, and some good carrots, and some other wholesome things, it'll fill you up quite quickly. So, you just press it down, and everything's going to shrink in here. So it's not going to, you know, it's not going to stay at the top very long. Once the vegetables start to cook and soften up, they'll start to sink a little bit underneath the broth or whatever. I don't expect myself to eat a whole crock pot tonight, but I'll have dinner or lunch for tomorrow. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'll throw a few more carrots on in. Throw a few more onions. It's mixed pretty good. Pretty evenly. If anything, the celery and the onions will give it, the purple onions will give it a little bit of color. So it's cooking. The meat's submerged. The vegetables will eventually relax. As needed, you could add more of the mixed pickling, which is the same thing that comes in that packet that you buy with your corned beefs. Totally up to you. But I gotta get going. I got a basketball competition. This is Lord Ulrich's corned beef and cabbage pot of gold. I should actually say it's Lord Ulrich's Italiano Irish pot of gold. Because it is. It's a pot of gold. It literally is a pot of gold. You know, I threw bourbon in here, marijuana, all the things that adults like, I put into this. Okay? Plus a lot of flavoring between. I mean, we have over 15 different types of seasonings in this. So you don't think slow cooking it, it's not going to be full of flavors? Please. This is going to be the meal of the century. It's a hearty meal. This is meat and potatoes straight up. Little bit of, tweaked it with a little bit of Italian, a little bit of Irish in between, and this is what you got. So this is going to be a good meal. It is filled to the top. Vegetables will absorb a lot of it. They'll still be liquid. And what you do is you take a little spoonful of a liquid like this I was showing you guys, and you'll pour a little bit over the beef and the vegetables once it's done. Because the vegetables will absorb some of the liquid. It's not going to absorb all of it. And you'll still have kind of a gravy-like broth or soup left behind. You know, you cut a couple pieces of meat off, you throw it on a plate, you take a couple scoops of vegetables, throw that on next to it. Oh my God, such a hearty meal. Nice piece of honey wheat berry bread. Woo! Mwah. So anyhow, I got to get going to my competition. When I get back, I will show you guys the final results. In the meantime, while you're waiting, check out our site, www.paranormalghostsociety.org. Give Angel of the Night Radio a like on our Facebook page and the Paranormal Ghost Society. We got a lot of different little projects going on. Please help support the Phantom Sports team. We're working really hard to win the basketball competition later this year. We're doing great things all the time because people are like, what is Angel of the Night Radio? We're a lot of things. Besides the fact that it's where comedy meets reality, it's also a place of volunteer work, cemetery restoration, research, ghost towns, adventure, camping, sports, ghosts, Bigfoot, UFOs, good eats, good cooks, and even hookers. I got you on that one. Alright guys, I will be back with the final results when I get back from my basketball game. This is a meal that I won't have to do anything but put on a plate when I get back. And so then I will show you guys the final results. Stay tuned. This is Lord Rick. Peace out. Oh, and one more thing. This is what it's going to look like. Now the vegetables will change a different color. Cabbage, onion. I mean, after a few hours, it'll take on the form of the broth. Don't let that alarm you, okay? And you keep it on low, because you don't want to make your vegetables and cabbage all mush. But what you do want to do is be able to continue to cook the meat. The meat's all underneath. And I did stir it so there's vegetables underneath, but when this becomes relaxed and absorbs some of the broth, it'll get a little bit lower. So for now, we're going to put the lid on this for a few hours. We'll come back. When we come back, it should be done, man. It should be done. I cannot wait. Doesn't that look good? Oh my God. It smells like heaven. It smells greater than a freshly showered woman in lingerie and perfume and all the little beauty divs. Alright guys, I'll be back soon. Good evening everybody, this is Lord Rick of Angel of the Night Radio, and I just got home from scrimmage. Every Wednesday we have basketball scrimmage at the MAC. I'm sorry if our video camera's a little tilted. It's like, oh, I'll fix the angle in a second, but I just came home from practice, so I want to wish all my friends, my family, members of the Phantoms sports team a very happy and safe St. Patrick's Day. There's a lot of cops out. One pulled a guy over right next to me. I thought he was pulling me over because I was 5 over downtown Carson City, just trying to get home so I could eat this Lord O'Rick's pot of gold corned beef and cabbage. It's not just corned beef and cabbage. This is an Irish Italian. I combined the two. It's an Irish Italian corned beef stew. And I say it's a stew because, I mean, there is a gravy, or at least it's rather viscous. So you can take the beautiful seasoned beef broth, you take a capina, and you can pour it on the cabbage, pour it on the beef, because it adds to the flavoring. But I'm going to let you guys see what it looks like. It's been cooking now since this morning. So it's been in for about 8-9 hours. I started with the meat, and in the last couple hours I threw in the vegetables, and I went and I had basketball scrimmage, came back, I'm just ready to eat. I don't have to do anything but put it on a plate, and of course show it to you guys. It's kind of been a crazy day. I want to thank everybody for watching my basketball videos. We got a lot of ghost town adventures I'm going to be adding. Because everybody's like, well, yeah, it's basketball. It's not true. There's a lot of other things I film. I just haven't had time to work on it and put it up. In basketball, we put up weekly because it's for our players to kind of fix their mistakes, learn from their mistakes, see where they went wrong. And I mean, it's a learning tool. We use it to better our game. And you guys can see how much talent our basketball team has and how much we've grown. That's because we're constantly playing. And we film the practices and we put them out to you guys. And you guys seem to enjoy them as well. So let me go ahead and fix the camera a little bit. It's a little tilted. I had the tripod at the basketball game today, and it's like I did not adjust it. But I'm going to show you guys what it looks like, okay? I mean, it is amazing looking. I cannot wait to show you. Look at that, baby. On this sports team, this is how we eat. Well, at least this is how I eat. If I'm going to go hike or play basketball or something, I'll cook myself a stew, and it's fun to mess around and try different things. But you can look, it's not soggy at all. There's no mushy vegetables. Okay, look at that. It's a nice cut of corned beef right there. And I'm going to cut a piece off, put it on a plate, along with purple sweet onions, carrots, cabbage, red potatoes, celery, and then about 15 different seasonings. Now, this is an Italian-Irish stew, basically. It is a stew, but it's an Irish-Italian corned beef stew. And I hate calling it a stew because you always think of like beef chunks, like beef stew. But in a way, it's an Irish-Italian stew. And it has a lot of garlic in it. And this is just healthy eating. Healthy eating goes hand in hand with exercise. You want to be a good basketball player? Every day you got to eat healthy like this. A lot of vegetables, meats, fruits, that kind of thing. And you got to be consistent with your diet. And so I'm very consistent. Obviously, I try to eat a lot of slow-cooked meals, healthy meats like lean chicken and that kind of thing, because at my age, to be able to run out there for 2-3 hours nonstop, I mean, you got to be able to build that endurance and stamina, but protein and good eating goes with it. Just remember that, and I try to teach that. Now, see, there's a lot. If you guys notice, it's softened up the vegetables, so they're no longer, I mean, look, I can stir it. I have room to add more vegetables. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put some vegetables on a plate, a good slab of corned beef, a nice cut. I'm going to put a good cut of corned beef, pour some of the juices on top. This is a special bourbon juice that I made, and it's a marijuana. Keep in mind, I put some marijuana in this. That's why I call it Lord O. Rick's pot of gold. Because, I mean, there is some pot in this corned beef stew. And it's for flavoring. I used it like an herb just to season it along with the bourbon. So the bourbon's more of an Irish tradition. You could put beer or you could put some Irish whiskey on in your stew. And it'll flavor the meat nicely. It'll go nicely at the meat. So, but this has a lot of different healthy vegetables. Like the carrots aren't falling apart or mushy. It's right where it's supposed to be. So I'm going to put it on warm because I don't want to cook it anymore. Okay, I want to keep it warm. I mean, you got cabbage and onions mixed in. Look at that with the potatoes and the carrots. Doesn't that look good? And I mean, a nice cut of corned beef. All the fat's cooked off. What you got left is just nice cuts of meat. And I got about 4 cuts in there. So I'll eat a couple cuts tonight, a couple cuts for lunch maybe tomorrow, and smoke myself a bowl. I'm trying to take natural remedies because I used to be a guy that was on a lot of different pills. Pain pills. There was 2 pills, if I mixed together at once, you could technically stop breathing if you go to sleep. Back then I was popping them like crazy together, and I'd sleep for 10, 12 hours, and I'm surprised I never stopped breathing and I'm alive. So I'm not much into the pill type of thing. I'll take a lot of vitamins now, but I lay off the pain, no painkillers. I'm not on any painkillers. When I play basketball, it's strictly CBD, THC with a mix of kratom. Seems to, after a half hour, it takes effect. I do notice the pain lessens enough where I can go out there and run a good, hard game of basketball. And today we played 10, 11 games, and I'm not really tired. But I'm going to tell you something. I got the COVID shot back in the beginning of the year. My arm still hurts where I've had the shot. Like, it's just been throbbing today in that area. And lucky I got it in my left arm because I'm a right-hand shooter, but I use my left hand like this to set the ball up. You know, I've been told that I'm quite the showman. So I'm going to go ahead and finish off the night fixing the plate. People might say I'm weird, but I'm a man of many hats. And here I am running around. It was funny because I was running around the court with my St. Patty's Day Vikings hat on. You know, it's fucking gold horns, and then I'm playing with my top hat, it was kind of for fun. I was screwing around, throwing the ball underhand. I told Big James, I'm like, dude, I missed a lot of shots. I missed like 50 shots tonight, and I usually don't miss 50 shots. If I shoot 50 times, I make more than half of them, but tonight that wasn't the case. Every game I'd score maybe a 3 or a 2, but last week I was rocking. In one game I scored 10 out of the 11 points in one of the games we played. And this week, it's like, oh man, you know, I was working mainly on defense and almost got the ball a few times, got my hand on the ball with Big James trying to put it in. It was like, so I'm starting to get height, and I think, and what I was trying to get at is due to the kratom and the fact that I get a knee injection, so there's very little pain, and I'm able to get more height now defensively. And it comes with a lot of practice, building muscle so you can jump a little higher. So I'm going to put this on a plate. I showed you guys what it looks like. It's think of it as a mix between a stew and a soup, because it is soupy, I'm going to taste it. I just want to make sure, it's let you know how it tastes. But I mean, this is fabulous. Oh my God. It's like it has zing to it. How should I describe it? Zing. But it tastes like beef broth with zing, and you can taste all the herbs. And you can kind of taste in the juices, the corned beef, and even the vegetables, because it's been cooking for so long. And that's in the juices alone. So I'm going to put it on a plate because I don't want to hold up. I had a pretty long day. It's been St. Patties. I think we all had a long day on St. Patties. And so what you got two choices. I'm going to show you both choices because I'm going to have myself 2 servings of this. I'm going to do one in the bowl because I want to have it like a soup, and in one I'm going to have kind of like a steak with the vegetables. So you could prep it either way, and then you can put some juices on top. And I'm trying to show, and the reason why is I'm trying to show you guys the difference. Now you see this, a copina. In Italian we say copina full, but it's a ladle. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to want to use a ladle for the juices. I already cut the meat, but I'm going to cut it even more. Okay, so what I'm going to do is grab a fork. It's very hot, be careful. I mean, when you're cooking in the slow cooker all day long, I mean, this is sizzling hot. But it looks good. And I'm going to get a good cut of meat. Just got home from our basketball practice. And you know, I want to say, because my team does watch this, I'm going to add the last part of the segment onto my basketball video. I mean, you guys are rocking, you're hustling, you're making great plays, you're diving, you're making awesome 3-pointers. I mean, you're getting there. You're getting better every week as a team. And I just want to let you guys know that, because a lot of times people play and they're like, how come I don't improve? How come? You guys got to love DoorDash, because they bring you food, and Tammy's not a huge corned beef person. Some people are. It's an acquired taste. But she got me this chocolate shake. And honestly, I'm making jokes at basketball because I have to bust my ass for 2-3 hours on the ball court playing basketball just to lose a pound or 2, you know, to burn some calories. And this shake takes it all away, all the practice I've done today. You know what I mean? But it's all right. It's okay to eat healthy, and it's okay to eat a little unhealthy. But you gotta exercise, and it's, you know, we're in the summer, we make up our basketball practices to 2 games a week. But we're probably going to be playing back outdoors. It's awesome outdoors. We got a wonderful view of snow-capped peaks. The guys will love it. You guys will love it. Go Phantoms. But anyways, I'm going to put it on a plate. I'm going to show you the soup way and then the plate way, because I'm going to have it each. I want to have it each way. I'm kind of weird like that. I'm one of these guys that wants to dabble when I cook and try different things. So we'll put one piece on here. You can cut it in slices. It just makes it easier to eat. And so I'm going to slice and dice it. And of course, this is the end that, you know, you guys can, if you don't want to watch, I mean, if you watch basketball and you're not interested in the last portion of the cooking show, that's fine. But I mean, you learn something new every day, and I always try to teach my guys on a personal level, like someone I talk to about food and eating healthy, because playing a competitive league, some of these guys play college, almost pro. And a lot of the guys are 18, 19, 20, in their 20s and 30s, you know, and a lot of our guys are in their late 30s, some in their 40s. And I'm getting into my later 40s, so it's one of those things that we have to up our game. We have to play smart. Sure, we're not going to run maybe as fast as some of those guys or handle the ball as fast, but we're wise. And when you loft it up, it's an art. You're not some young kid just throwing it up because you want to look cool and score. We're going to set it up like an art. We're going to retain the ball. We're going to play defensive. Do all the things that you're supposed to do. And so today we worked on a lot of basic basketball. A pass to the right, other guy cuts in, a pass to the left, layup. Just simple basic basketball, which I use to teach our viewers, because we have a lot of viewers, even younger viewers who want to learn this game, or who we have family and friends who follow our team, because we're going to have other sports eventually, lacrosse, football, hopefully floor hockey, that kind of thing. I'm trying to get this going. Doesn't matter if I get 50, 55, I'm probably still going to play as long as I can play for it, at least coach for it. And I consider myself, if I take care of myself and I don't take pain pills and I eat right and that kind of thing, I expect myself to be playing for years to come. even if I have to get knee injections and take natural remedies before a game and prep a couple hours with things. It's fine. It's fine. But I put the corned beef on the plate. Now you got to get a good mix of vegetables. And when I get the copina, I don't want a lot of juices, because remember, this is supposed to be it's going to be like having a steak technically. So, but you want to put a little cabbage and some potatoes. I'm not a huge fan of a bunch of potatoes because carbohydrates are some of the worst things you can have. But I like potatoes on occasion, and it's okay to put a few on your plate. It's not going to hurt you to go with your meat. So, you grab some carrots, some onions. Carrots are very good for the eyes. Since I have some eye deterioration, it's probably good that in my left eye, it's probably good that I eat carrots. There are certain things you can eat to improve your eyesight, and even to improve your basketball game. Okay? So there's already juices on the plate. This, we're going to put extra juices because this is a soup bowl. Okay? But I want to show you the two different styles, okay? When you serve it. You can serve it like this. Let me adjust my camera. I need a camera crew. So you can fix it like this. Looks good, right guys? And then the other way is we're going to take another cup of corned beef. Now I'm going to eat both. Usually I eat 2 servings. So I usually have some slices of corned beef on a plate. And then I like to sometimes put a little bit in a soup bowl. It's just how I like it. I don't care how you eat it. That's up to you. You can serve it any way you want to serve it. But I'm going to make this kind of like, this next dish I'm fixing is kind of like a soup. And you know, healthy eating is something important. I want to contribute to things. That's why I run a basketball team. It's a contribution to my community. To give the guys a team, a place to play, hope, exercise, making friends. It's more than just, hey, we're going out and it's whoever scores is the best man. It's not about that, man. It's not about showing off. It's about playing the game. It's a lifestyle and playing the game and making friends and having a good time. But as I get older, I try to eat more healthier. I'm not a heavy drinker. I like a couple shots now and then or a brew. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm not going to sit there and pump myself full of booze on a daily basis. I'm a natural guy, like CBD, marijuana, toking it up, smoking it up. This milkshake, I'm cheating a little. You guys probably, I moved the camera down, sorry, see, I'll have to get down soon on my knees to film, that sounds bad. So I don't have a cameraman, so I always have to adjust the camera. I'm almost done, guys, and I'm going to head out of here. I'm going to change into some of my comfort clothes and watch my, well, it's actually Tammy's. I bought it for her, but we have an 86-inch television. It's like being in a movie theater, sound bar, so it's pretty awesome. But anyways, what I did is I sliced up the beef, okay, put it on the bottom. Or you can put it on the top, it doesn't matter, as you guys can see. Okay. Now what we're going to do, same thing. But this time, I'm going to take a bunch of carrots, smother them on top. 3/4 some celery, nice scoop of cabbage. I'm not afraid to get juices, notice, watch. When I'm grabbing it, I'm just putting it all in there, okay? And this is going to be soup-like. You can get really creative and you can take a couple pieces of corned beef and put it on top. Just because I want to show you guys what the final results look like. But it's good, it's really good. And I'm going to have it both ways tonight. That sounds horrible. I'm going to get it both ways tonight. But this is Lord O'Rick's Pot of Gold, corned beef and cabbage stew. I should say it's Lord O'Rick's corned beef and cabbage pot of gold Italian Irish stew. Because I put a little bit of Italian love in this, I put a little bit of Irish. And I showed you guys this little trick. Remember, mixed pickling. Okay? That's what comes with the corned beef. They don't give you enough to season it. If you want to season the whole stew, you buy some of this and put in. But this has over 15 different types of spices in it, including bourbon and marijuana. And I'm not even lying about it. I showed you guys earlier on film. And so I want to close the show. I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to readjust the camera like I always do, and I'm going to show you guys the soup bowl. And you guys have the plate and the soup bowl. It's your choice, whatever one you want. This is Good Eats with Lord Rick, and you're listening to Angel of the Night Radio. We're live where comedy meets reality here in Carson City, Nevada. And I just got back from the Phantoms team practice. And the Phantoms, man, I mean, we're going to rise to the occasion. We are going to compete. If we have to go to Reno to compete, we will take our team to Reno. But I expect to have football and all other sports by this summer. And we'll probably have to go to Reno to do it because Carson City is just, they're stuck on baseball, which is the worst thing to get COVID from because you're sitting on the bench, you're talking, the guys are spitting, all that kind of stuff. Put the mask. It's just, we play basketball, we haven't had any COVID cases. We're not up each other's ass, we're not hanging out on the bench waiting to bat. You know what I'm saying? We're out there competing and we wear a mask, most of the time. I'm vaccinated. And so we're trying to do this, man. And on May 1st, Carson City and the Carson City area and the tri-counties that are around here, like Lyon County and so forth, and Washoe, all those places are going to be 100% open. No mask. It's going to be optional, which means sports leagues, bowling leagues, all those things should open up, including basketball. And I don't care if the MAC facility here in Carson City they want to open volleyball, every other sport. I don't care. They need to open basketball. It's not fair to the older guys. Because every year you age, there is some muscle deterioration. There are problems, like me, I have all these medical problems. It's like, how long do you think I can compete? You want to close basketball 2 or 3 years till I'm 50 years old? How fair is that to me? Now's the time to compete. And so we're hoping to take our team to the next level. So I'll continue to exercise, continue to eat right, continue to enjoy milkshakes from my lovely girlfriend. And I'm going to show you guys the final results, and then I'm going to head on out of here. Took that herb, But I want to say good practice, guys. Thanks for showing on St. Patrick's Day. It's really nice all you guys to come on out and play and compete. And I love playing with you guys. It's really about having fun. Our team's not playing right now. We have a team. But our team is practicing, getting to know each other, building chemistry. And it's been great. You can see the chemistry today, just following the routes to the net and a lot of the trick passes and just working together, and that's something in the first couple of years our team wasn't really working together. We had a couple guys that just shoot, no passing, nothing to it. And now we're starting to develop our own little plays and our own little system of playing, and we can take that to a league, and it doesn't matter if these are 20-year-olds or 50-year-olds or whatever, we can apply our talents to the game, and we're going to come out with some wins, guys. We're going to come out and hopefully we can take it to the playoffs and compete and be a top competitor, and I think we can. We have some really great talent on our team. So this is the soupy version. Look at me crouching down. It's like a soup bowl. You got a couple nice cuts of meat. Doesn't that look good, guys? Look at that. Nothing like coming home from a basketball competition and scrimmage and having dinner already served. I didn't have to do anything but prep it on the plates. Just slice. Look at the slices. Doesn't that look good? Oh, and if you guys want to really up the ante, any kind of bread will do, but this is a gourmet bread. It's called honey wheatberry. Oh my God, it's so good. But anyhow, you can take it and you can literally, dunk it. Look at that. You just add the honey mixed in with the stew. The juices is good. Same thing here. See, I soaked up some of the juices. And you can fold the bread like that and just, take a bite off it. Pretty good, huh? I think I just upped the ante, ladies and gentlemen. That is so yummy. So good. St. Patrick's Day tradition. I love it. I just love the holidays. Like I said earlier in the show, it's a good excuse to go drink yourself a pint. So just want to wish everybody a happy St. Patty's Day. Much love from your host, Lord Rick. This is Angel of the Night Radio, founder of the Paranormal Ghost Society, and the coach of the Phantom sports team. Healthy eating is the key to living a long time, but so is laughter. So is good exercise. So is being a little adventurous. You have to live life so that your body pushes on. You have to push your limits. I may have bulging disc and chondromalacia, and a few years ago I had a really serious injury. I had to walk with a cane. I can give you some inspirational advice. You have to push on. You cannot give up. You can't say, some people are like, it's hopeless, and they sit on their couch, they pop pills, and it's just not going to work. You have to push your limits. I'll always push my limits. Okay, I'll continue to eat good, I'll continue to make good decisions, and I'll continue to exercise so that someday I can enjoy my time with my grandkids, enjoy time with any future children I have. But I want to be able to coach this team, and I want to be able to take this team to a championship. So happy St. Patrick's Day to all my friends, family, players of my sports team who volunteer and get involved. Be safe, be well. This is your host, your friend, your founder, Lord Rick. And we'll be back with more cooking episodes. But I wanted to put this last segment on for my team because I was telling my team I got an Irish stew cooking. I was trying to explain to them I don't have to go out and seek dinner. I don't have to order DoorDash or anything like that. I've had this cooking since this morning. So I go out, I play basketball, I come home, it's already ready. Smart, right? I mean, you guys really worked my ass off for 2.5 hours on that basketball court. You guys played harder tonight. And you guys played skillful. And you guys, I mean, there was some moves I did where I got around you and some good defensive plays. But you guys kept me on my toes. You guys covered me good defensively. You kept pressure on me, and you hustled. You hustled to the net. Most people, when I stand by them defensively, they don't want to go around. They're too scared. You guys push your limits, and it's good to see because there's going to be guys much bigger than I am in the leagues, and you're going to have to learn how to maneuver around them to score your layups or your points. But I want to wish everybody a good night. We're live here in Carson City. This is Lord Rick, a.k.a. Angel of the Night. You're listening to Angel of the Night Radio, and people ask, what is Angel of the Night Radio? It's where comedy meets reality. We did our comedy portion earlier. But the reality is of the show now is I just made an awesome, kick-ass Italian, Irish, corned beef and cabbage stew, and it's sitting in front of me. I'm going to eat these plates. People are going to be like, you're going to eat all that? Yeah, I have a huge appetite. Believe it or not, I can eat like a 1-pound steak and have 2 or 3 servings with it. I eat really well for my age. But I haven't been put on weight because I burn it, because I exercise, I jog, I play basketball, I run around, I hike, I do all that. I'm very active. I climb up in mines, I just got done climbing in buildings and all up in ghost towns and shit. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Some days I'm 20 years old, man, smoking that bud, letting the wind blow through my hair and stopping at some ghost town being like, I'm going to climb that mill or I'm going to climb that mountain. No mountain's high enough. And so if I truly want to succeed in basketball, I'm going to do this. Let's do this. This is Lord Rick. Let's say cheers to the Phantom sports team. I'm going to have a taste. I'll let you guys know what it tastes like. Really good. I mean, the vegetables are so flavorful, and the carrots are still a little crispy. You see, I have a lot of juices because I took most of the vegetables out and a couple pieces of meat. So what I'm going to do tonight, I have a little left in the pot. I'll add the vegetables, let them soak overnight. And in the morning, I'll turn it on a couple hours and I'll have lunch. Because I have another half pot of mixed medley of onions and celery, carrots, potatoes, and cabbage. Isn't that cool, guys? So good night, everybody. And like I say, be safe. I'll see everybody next week, Wednesday. Next week, I got the Lindsay Lake Bigfoot Expedition I'm putting on my site. Yeah, I'm 5 years behind, but it's alright. I got hundreds of adventure videos coming out. And this is a really adventurous one. We found some Bigfoot evidence. I did miles of hiking out there, seen all the Lindsay Lakes. So we're going to get that on our site. We're going to have 3-4 hours of footage from that expedition. I mean, it's an amazing adventure. I would recommend you watch it. And also watch this cooking episode. I'm going to be putting it out next week. I need a couple days to edit it before I put it out and all that. And so make sure you watch our cooking show, our St. Patty's Day, March 17th, 2021. Lord Rick's pot of gold, corned beef and cabbage, Italian, Irish stew. And make sure you look for that, because I got some stand-up comedy in that, guys, some humor, and some reality as well. But anyhow, it's time. It's bon appetit. Good night to everybody, and have a wonderful, if not naughty, St. Patty's Day. There's still a few hours left. It's 8 o'clock. I got 4 hours left to do some shenanigans on St. Patty's. I do shenanigans all the time. That doesn't matter. But anyways, good night, everybody. Peace out. We're live from Carson City, and you listened to Angel of Thy Night Radio. Good eats with your host, Lord Rick.